Then there's the church bells here in Oxford. Look, it's all completely empty. Quiet as a mouse, a termite's nest or mouse hole, whatever you want to call it. Couldn't think of a simile there. Anyway, Hospital Port's Pride and Dignity, Stop the New World Order. Welcome to Paranormal TV. It's 7 AM, you just heard the chimes there, echoing around this completely empty high street. It's very weird to walk along here when there's no one around. And I'm heading for the coach station because I'm off on another adventure. There's another college, there's more college bells going. Oh, and another one. All the colleges have their own bell towers, so they're all chiming 7 AM. I'm going off to the coach station to catch another coach. Let us hope it's working this time and the computer doesn't say no. I'm off on, I don't know if it's an adventure, it's more maybe a kind of social thing, because I'm heading for some friend's house. Some friends, because it's New Year's Eve today. And midnight tonight, we enter a new year, 2024. So, when hopefully, I know everything should change. But hopefully for the better. But we'll see. But I like New Year's for that reason, because it's a time of reflection and a time of prediction, hope, looking forward. You draw a line and move forward kind of thing. In a way, you can't really any other time. So, now normally what I do on New Year's is I'm normally in just sort of like talking to people online. It's, I haven't gone to a New Year party since I was a hospital porter. That's a long time. So, this is actually going to be the first time I've actually socialised on New Year's Eve for 11 years, yeah. I think New Year 2011 was the last time I was a bit longer, 12 years, 13 years actually, yeah. Ooh. That's nice. It's nice you recognise the friends when you see them, and it would be nice to see them again. Nice to spend time with people, have company in the real world on New Year. Definitely. Hope you all had a lovely Christmas, by the way. Mine was pretty good, a bit quiet, just me. But I did see my daughter briefly. So yeah, and Christmas decorations. Well, they actually, I mean, so they wouldn't have taken down already, but it looks like they haven't. You know, I've not actually been in town, into the city centre, since the season began. So, I mean, these are not Christmas decorations. They're normal decorations, I think. So, it looks for a strange reason, Oxford hasn't put up any Christmas decorations this year. I don't think, unless they have taken them down already, which I doubt. So that's odd. Maybe we'll see more when we get up to the shopping areas. Because well, I mean, tomorrow is going to be a big shopping day. Just like Boxing Day, there's these big New Year sales because basically shops want to get rid of all their Christmas stock, so they sell everything off at a discount. We do have some decorations. I don't know if you could see them, but it was kind of an electric banner across the street there. Can you just see the outline of it? All the lights are switched off on it. Now that explains it. They switched it off to save money. Fair enough, you might think, Ben, but you know, what are they spending the money on? All the 15-minute reforms and local traffic neighbourhoods and things like that. Mitre has reopened. It's now Gusto Italian. It is a Italian restaurant. All right. The Mitre, that is actually a 600-year-old coaching inn, and it was shut for ages. Now they've reopened it. I mean, wow, better than nothing. I don't mind a bit of Italian myself. And here was Cornmarket Street, completely quiet. There's one person there, apart from me, on this early Sunday morning, New Year's Eve. You know, I haven't seen a Christmas tree. There's normally a Christmas tree at Carfax, but they haven't put one out this year. Maybe the council decided that the Christmas trees are racist. So, there you go. If they decide that, then it just has to go, doesn't it? But they've just got these banners, you see, they've got them here as well, all switched off. It's the first time I've seen the city centre in the season. What's left of it just shows what a shopaholic I am, doesn't it? Oh, guys, got to head for the coach station now. got it wrong last night. I said on a Panwo radio space weather it was a crescent moon. I should bring gibbous, idiot that I am. Just thought I'd mention that before somebody pointed out. That's the coach I'm getting to London, or one of those two. No one there yet. Still completely dark. We've only just passed the solstice. And it's still night time here, even though it's gone 7 AM. Victoria Coast Station. We have these little Art Deco monuments here. So welcome to London. The sun is shining. That's extraordinary. I mean, I've hardly seen the sun in the last month. I don't know if you've noticed if you live in southern England, but the weather has been, for the last month, has been atrocious. I brought this up on the Christmas live streams. Yeah, that's bloody horrible. I've now I'll say more. I might even do like a special video about it. But right now I've got to catch another coach now to get to my destination. And when you find out where I'm going, you may be surprised I'm going via London, but I'll explain everything as we go along. Well, welcome to Victoria Coast Station. Not the easiest place to find your way around. For example, I'm trying to find a toilet, so according to this sign, the toilets are this way, so I go this way. I've been this way and I can't find them, so I turn around and come back. On the very same sign, it says the toilets are that way. I was disabled that way, but yeah, but I'll keep trying. It's bloody cold. Coach is delayed an hour. I'm sitting here right now, you see, delayed 1100, as you can see that. Yeah, that's bad for National Express, I must say. Apparently the driver called in sick. Obviously partying tonight. Yeah, I'm sure he won't be the only one. I'm finally on the coach. No, that bridge is over, don't they? And a rather unusual route out of London. I don't normally go. It's just southwest London. And there's the River Thames. We're going by the Thames Embankment right now. And you can see some houseboats down there. I think there's some houseboats. Some of them are quite nice. Maybe one of them was Jo Cox's, which she probably sold before she went into hiding. That was a big one. Under a new identity. So they're a lot bigger and better than the ones in Oxford, which are in a bit of a state, my friend. Okay, we're travelling through Hampshire now, and these are the very remote and desolate area actually of the New Forest. If there's a home for the British Bigfoot, it would probably be here. So I'm keeping a lookout for it.
Where's your trainers? Why are they off?
I'm off the coast and I'm on a train. I didn't have time to film or keep you updated with what's been happening since I got off the coach. Basically, the coach I was going to catch to Weymouth was cancelled, so they put me on a coach to Bournemouth, and they said when I get to Bournemouth they'll arrange a taxi for me. As it turns out, they haven't arranged a taxi, they've arranged a train. It's this one. But arranging it was such a palaver. I had to go into the office. I went into the office in Bournemouth coach station, and the guy had to fill out a form, and he didn't know how to do it. He had to call someone in his control centre. He had to fill out an entire form, and he had to get instructions on the phone from somebody, and then he had to escort me over to the station. We had to go over to the station ticket office and wait in a queue for 20 minutes and basically talk to the lady behind the counter. And then she had to fill out another form. I'm really surprised that when you consider the ease with which the railways arrange replacement bus services, that the coach companies like National Express don't seem to have a very good system for arranging rail replacement services or replacement rail services. So I caught this train with about a minute to spare, and if I missed this one I'd have had to wait an hour for the next one. It would be nice to have a normal journey just for once. I don't know what's happened to the transport system in this country. As you know, throughout this year I've had to cancel two shoots for Paranormal TV because the trains weren't running. Well, I had to cancel one, postpone another. And then of course there was the bases project. Again, there was in both directions. There were delays and there were overcrowded trains and things like that. So we seem to have a lot of there seems to be a lot of problem with transport at the moment. But anyway, Christopher was smiling down on me, and I did manage to get this train. I mean, I actually said to him, well, we were waiting at the ticket office and they're filling out forms. I was looking at the departure board and I saw this train was about to go, and they were fiddling with the bloody paperwork. And the lady behind the counter didn't know how. She said, do I write this there? Do I write that there? Foreign person. And I said, look, when you're filling out the form, could you just give me the ticket and I'll go and catch the train? She said, yeah, sure, and they did. So I said, thank you, and so now I'm on the last days of my journey. I'm actually going to Weymouth. You can probably guess I'm going to spend New Year with Neil and Monica Ward. You know, you've met them before. Anyway, on my way now. Okay, I finally made it to Weymouth. It's quite a charming station, this one, actually. Neil's going to pick me up outside. I've got to try and find some shops because, well, it is New Year's Eve. Neil and Monica aren't big drinkers, but I'll get some wine in or something. As it turns out, I'm only about 3/4 an hour late. But it'd be nice to have a normal journey just once. Maybe the journey back will be normal and there'll not be nothing delayed. Well, guys, I'm here with Neil. Hey, Neil. All right.
Hello, everyone.
You'll know Neil. Yeah, he's invited. He and Monica have invited me to stay with them for New Year, which is really great.
Charging him.
It is, yeah. Well, I'll brought a couple of bottles of wine.
A couple of bottles. That pays your way.
Yeah. I couldn't find any rum, but I've got some wine. I hope that'll do.
Good.
That'll do.
Sounds good.
But yeah, we are. It's a very warm, wet, but sort of intermittently sunny New Year. So yeah, I'm kind of getting used to that now. I think it's almost. We're British. We have to moan about the weather, but I think we're just going to have to just put up with it, I think, you know. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's 4 minutes to midnight. I'm here with Neil. How you doing, Neil? Alright.
We're good here, thank you. Yeah, we've been staying up late watching UFO documentaries on Netflix, and now we're waiting for the big ball to drop. And I'm not talking about me.
What better way to spend a New Year's Eve? Who needs to go to parties when you've got UFO documentaries, eh, guys? This is Edinburgh here, or is that Edinburgh or London?
Edinburgh,
live in Edinburgh. At the traditional home of Hogmanay and New Year. No one does it like the Scots. Any predictions for next year?
Well, I think we'll probably have a general election in September.
Right, there's a lot of rumours. It's going to be sometime next year. I mean, it could be as late as January 2025. It probably won't be. It'll be I think probably September, October. Yeah, autumn time. You think it's usually in autumn. We know that in November there's going to be an election in the United States. Yep. And we're going to have, and there's going to be probably Trump will be president. I hope so. Anyway, what do you think of this year that's just gone by?
It's been very exciting in many respects because we've been talking about the UFO things quite a lot, and it's got to the point even where it's been breaking through to the mainstream. And my son, who's very sceptical of anything that I take an interest in, has suddenly got hold of me and said, Dad, I think you're right about the UFO thing. And he was the one that bought me a book on conspiracy theories a few years back for a birthday. So
that's quite
for him to suddenly sort of be taking it a little bit more seriously, there's been a definite upturn.
Yeah, I had the same experience with my dad. I mean, that's a good sign. This has been, I think, in many, many ways, this has been a good year. I think it's certainly better than the last few, which is not saying much, but really this has been the closest thing we've had to 2016 since 2016, I would say. And, honestly, Neil, it's like, I think it's been good. I think this has been the year of the UFO. We've had, we've had the balloon, we've had Object Gate, we've had Grush, David Grush came out, things like that. You know, what do you reckon of that?
Well, that's very good, yeah. I mean, we had people like, who's the guy, the 89 guy who did the recovered sources,
Bob Lazar.
So he's kind of basically confirming everything Bob Lazar's been talking about for years. On a personal note, I actually got married this year. So
that's true, yes.
So it's been a very good year for me. Exactly. So yeah.
We've been sitting here watching the DVD of Neil's wedding, which is lovely. It was an Elfine style hand fasting with Philip Kinsella being the celebrant, and loads of people all over the place, really, really looking dressed up. It was just a wonderful event, lovely music. You know, lots of friends. I think we've got 2 minutes to go. Yes, it's 2 minutes to go now.
Yeah. Got the London Eye now.
I really want to say congratulations, Neil, to you and Monica.
Thank you.
Congratulations, yes.
Thank you very much.
A wonderful bride and groom, yeah. So yeah, it's yeah, this has been a year. It's been the year of the UFO. It's been the year of the backlash. It's been the year where I think we may have passed peak cashless. It's where there has been. It hasn't been as decisive and mind-blowing and explosive as 2016. It's been more slow, gradual, an incremental pushback. I think. I would say that. Yeah. Oh, here we go, guys.
So is this really Big Ben or is it Little Ben?
Little Ben is me. No, that's Big Ben is that.
I thought it wasn't.
No, they can't. No, where's the scaffolding?
That's a CGI clock. Digital.
Phone to the ready. Yeah. Let's be. Yeah. So that interestingly,
Right.
it's a minute to go now. We have a little
bright light there.
Yeah.
I can't really get it.
Interesting. You know that the whole of Parliament is going to have to be shut down, and they're going to have to move it somewhere else. Did you know that?
I remember you saying this. Yeah.
It's gonna. The whole of Parliament. It's not just Big Ben's going to be having stuff.
So they've got a nice little porter cabin sorted out.
Probably something a bit more luxurious stuff. It's going to have to last maybe 6 or 7 years. I mean, the whole. Believe it or not, the Palace of Westminster, which is 700 years old.
Yeah.
The whole Parliament building is in very, very bad shape. Oh,
Yeah,
got
the
20 seconds.
electrics. I heard the electrics.
Yeah, it's going to need major repairs, major refurbishment. Right, here we go, guys. 20 seconds to go.
20 seconds, everybody, in count.
Okay, 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
10,
9,
9,
8,
8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Is that
3,
right?
2,
1.
1.
Well, nothing's happening. I think my clock's there must be wrong. Okay.
We're waiting. We're perhaps ahead of us.
Yeah, I think my clock's wrong.
Oh,
Here we go.
that looks like
I know
it.
my clock was slightly wrong. Ding, ding, ding. They don't ring it for Brexit, they're all for this.
Is that it?
Yay! Oh, what happened there?
How strange.
Yes. Anyway, Happy New Year.
Well,
Neil.
that was
It
the
went
one
off.
little ding dong bell.
Oh my God, we're in Leave the World Behind. The TV's just gone off.
Oh, well, that's a great time. to
Oh,
go
well,
to
but we've got
bloody
ads.
break, isn't it? How annoying.
Oh my
had
goodness
the
me!
right
How
to
much
BBC.
did this ads lot cost? Oh, anyway, Neil, Happy New Year. mate.
Happy New Year.
Happy
Ben.
New Year to you.
Happy New Year,
Happy
everybody.
New Year, yeah, Happy New Year, everyone. And do you know what? Happy New Year, her Panwo TV viewers. There's a lot more coming in. Oh, here we go, back again. There's a lot more coming in 2024. And yes, the new year has begun. And let it be 2023 and more. So, anyway. Do you know what? I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah, I think Ben's had a really long day. He set off at 7:30 yesterday,
Yeah.
should I say, in the morning.
Yes,
Came all the way from Oxford, had a few hassles getting here, ended up having to catch a train at the last leg of his journey. But he made it, and we've had a really good afternoon and a really long evening. And it's been a lovely time. So I'm going to take him out. Hopefully the weather's be a bit kinder tomorrow on New Year's Day. I'll take him out to Portland and see if the Lighthouse it won't be open, but I can show him around there, and we'll explore a little bit, weather permitting. Hopefully the storm will be a bit died down by then.
God hope the weather don't get. It's not worse than today. Anyway, guys, yeah, it's been a nice, quiet New Year. Watching UFO documentaries, no parties, just a few glasses of wine, which we finished earlier. Well, the wine's all finished. So, but Neil, it's great to be here with you.
Excellent.
Mate, really
Well,
is,
thank you for coming, Ben. Appreciate your
welcome.
company.
It's not nice. I think it's probably about 13 years since I actually had company at New Year. So yeah.
Oh, that's nice to do.
Yeah. So night, Panwo TV viewers. I hope you. By the time you watch this, it'll be past New Year. So I hope you had a good one. Hey, good morning, everyone. You've seen this view before. This is the view out of the back bedroom here. And, a new day dawns, and the new year dawns. And maybe it's a good omen, but for the first time in ages, we've actually got some nice weather in the early morning. The sun is shining and there's blue sky. You know that the weather has the temperature's probably still depressingly high, but it's a step in the right direction. Last night I had the mother of all sleeps. I really did. It's gone about 9:30 now. I've slept since about midnight. So I needed it. Happy New Year, everyone. Oh, this is really funny. Now, if you ever, like me, find like single socks in the wash, or sort of one sort of wears out and the other one doesn't, you could always get one of these boards. Lost socks, seeking soulmates. See if you can match it up with another one. Well, welcome to New Year's Eve, or New Year's Day, sorry. New Year's, let's start that again. Well, welcome to New Year's Day here in Weymouth, Dorset. We're heading for Portland. You've seen this before in a previous video I made. It's my last Dorset Earth Mysteries group video, but that was back in August. Was it sort of September or when? I can't remember when it was, Neil. It was in the summer anyway.
July, I think.
July, yeah, it was a long time ago. And now, of course, it is January, and it's like many seaside towns in the winter, it has a completely different atmosphere. But we're going to do a little adventure and see a couple of the sights. Obviously, we're not going to go swimming in the sea today. It's not that time of year, so. But I'm sure we'll find lots of other things to interest and amuse us. Hey guys, you may remember this from the summer when I came here to Dorset Earth Mysteries. This is Portland Castle. I remember it dates back to Tudor times, and it was used at various periods through history. And well, you've seen the inside. What I'll do is I'll put a link to my previous video where you can see it in more detail.
The road runs out here. I didn't realise that.
But here, unfortunately, we reached the end of the road. We should be able to maybe get a quick look at it. We won't be able to go indoors at this time of year, but we will be able to get a good look at it, I expect. This looks like a kind of like Dorset Area 51. No, it says according to this, there's a road that carries on. We've just reached a park.
Gate.
Can we get through here? I mean,
we'd have to walk, I think, Ben. But we can park up.
Thing is, there's no other way of getting around here. I mean, it's like, but it doesn't say so on the map. This is a real Area 51 moment here, guys. There's this big compound behind us. You just see, we'll show you some more of it in a minute. But you look on the map, when you get to Fancy's family farm, the road apparently goes straight ahead, but there's nothing marked on here. So, what are they doing here? What do you reckon? Cloning, aliens, or I don't know, anti-gravity? We'll find out. Neil, I mean, I was sort of joking just now, but Neil just said, "What are those weird creatures in there? They're big rabbits." And we thought, "Oh my God, we got like the Boscombe Down rabbits that Miles discovered. Was telling that idiot on that documentary."
There's one over there.
They're wallabies.
Yeah, wallabies. Yeah.
Look, can you see them? I'll just zoom in on them.
The fence and walk up
We'll have a look.
shots, yeah.
They've actually got wallabies now, like the ones we saw. Well, I didn't see them, but the others saw on the Isle of Man. Let's have a better look at them. Let's have a walk around here. I wish Richard Freeman was with us. He'd love this.
We are closed, so this is Fancy's farm.
It's called Fancy's Farm. They're farming Antipodean marsupials. And look, they're obviously worried about someone nicking them, because look at this fence.
Jump high fence.
So it's weird when you see something like this and you suddenly spot weird creatures and don't know what they are. Hello.
It's the last place I'd think of wallabies in Portland.
Yeah. Hello guys. How you doing, sport? I've been to your country. Yes, a long time ago. Do you know a guy called Steve Mumbling by any chance? He's a complete twat. He tries to run you over with his Holden. Look at this.
G'day, wallabies.
How you doing, boys? Hello. Hello there.
Big things, isn't they?
Yeah. So these are the creatures that we saw. We thought they were weird animals. I was joking about the cloning thing, but then we saw these weird animals, didn't know what they were. Now we know what they are. They've got them here. They've got this wallaby farm. Yeah, but this is something like now these look like completely ordinary sheep, unless they're all dollies and cloned. And there's some geese, again, which look quite ordinary. They seem to be alarmed that we're here.
A warning signal.
Yeah, again, these sheep are very well protected.
Like rams.
And they've got these horns, I think they're rams. Yes, hello. Don't worry, I know I'm a Welsh boy, but you've got nothing to worry about. I'm not going to harm you. Yeah. So there's some sheep. So there you go. These look quite ordinary, but this is the place. And there's these weird kind of pillbox structures over the end. It's like this is some kind of
old naval.
Yeah, it is. There was like a naval base here. In World War II, this was used for reconnaissance and for observing shipping in the area. This is a fancy family farm, guys. Oh, there's some chickens as well. Look, there's some roosters. You see them?
Yeah, I saw that.
There's a few roosters down there. Yeah. All right, guys. So we're heading off to do a bit more exploring. Over here, there's some quite ordinary looking. There's a pony there, and you see just beyond there is like That's like a Shire horse. You see, look at the feet. It's a Shire horse. The hooves there. Yeah. Okay, guys, we've got a bit of an Alfred Hitchcock moment here. We have these corvids lined up on the fence posts as if they're waiting to strike. Nevermore, nevermore. There we go. But here, I'm getting a bit of deja vu now. I've seen this before, but Neil assures me this isn't where we went. I was explaining in my last video, I've got vague memories of visiting this place when I was like about 18. But it was a long time ago. But look at this, it's really, we're coming to a view now. This is the old more parts of the old fort, and there's this old wall here. And look, you see, we get a wonderful view of the sea. So it's worth the struggle. It's a bit mud. We went down a rather muddy track and got a bit dirty. But I tell you what, here we get a lovely. Oh my God! I think there's actually a cliff edge here. I think. Right, yeah, I'm gonna need to be a bit careful here, guys, because watch my step a bit. There is a cliff edge. We get this great view over the port. That there is Portland Harbour. So we're going to walk along here a bit further and see what we get. Here, along with this lovely view here, you can see why they put a fort here. There may well have been artillery or something here in World War II. As you see, these are now crumbling, these old buildings. But you see the port there, you see a ship that's moored in the port. Yes, you see this was some kind of, maybe there was anti-aircraft artillery or something here, I don't know. But I don't know how far we can get along here. Maybe a bit difficult. We're going to try. Yeah, someone seems to be here to help us. They put a stone here deliberately so we can cross this bit here. So, but I hope you're enjoying the view, Panmo TV viewers. This is part of the farm, and there's a communications mast there. It's an antenna for signals and things. Right. So here we get another cliff edge here, guys.
It must be about 400 or 500 feet up, I think.
Yeah, as you can see here, it looks a little bit. I won't get too close to there, but you get a great view. And I think this might be as far as we can go. Yeah, there's no pathway along here, but I hope there's a ship, and there's a. What sort of ship is that? That might be a Royal Fleet Auxiliary or something, I don't know. Is it flying a flag? Can't see a flag on it. Check it out on, we'll check it out on Ship Tracker later. There's that looks like a coaster there, cargo ship. Short sea cargo ship there. There's a few more ships out to sea. You know, I'm fascinated with ships and sea, so there you go. There's another ship there. This reminds me of when we were in, do you remember the Welsh Triangle? It reminds me of that. But yeah. But anyway, you get a bit of a view here, ladies and gents. You can see for quite a long way across along the coastline. Here on the Portland Peninsula. Yeah. Very nice. And we have goats here now, so that's nice. Hello. How are you?
Prove yourself before you show us.
These goats appear to be more friendly than most of the other livestock we've seen so far. Hello.
Hello.
How are you? They seem to be curious about us.
Hello, goatee. I can't give you anything. I've got no food.
Well, they've obviously put 2 fences up to stop people feeding them. Aren't they cute? Hello.
Just these 2 goats.
Just going to go and have a look at this structure over here. We don't. It may be artificial. It might be a natural stack caused by erosion. We're just going to go and have a look. It seems to be part of the wall, though. There's this like old dry stone wall here that may be older than the other things. Actually, it may predate the fort. But there's this strange structure sticking up. I don't know how close we can get to it. Some of this reminds me of the Isle of Man, actually. And there's these old houses over here. I don't know what they are. There's this old building over here. At least, is that a jail over there? Is that a prison over there? Because there is a prison near here. Yeah, there is actually a prison quite close to it. Oh, this is bigger than it looks. Actually, it's further away than it looks too. And I think that's probably natural. I think that's a natural formation. Oh, there's another cliff edge here. There's another cliff here. So I don't think we can actually get very close to it. We could climb down, but honestly.
That's weird. Yeah. It's just out there by itself. You'd expect that to be right by the actual cliff edge.
Yeah. It could be there was some blasting done here or something years ago. Look, this. It looks like this is a quarry. Yeah, it's a quarry. Look, or maybe it used to be a quarry. You can see it's been cut out.
Yeah, and they've just left that bit.
Yeah.
That was the last bit they were going to take, and then their contract was cancelled.
Something like that. Yeah. But yeah. That's nice.
Now people use it as dog walk.
Looks like looks like just a recreational area now.
Den, I think.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of poo. There's probably a lot of poo down there. I say dogging den. As we're heading off again, of course it has to start raining, doesn't it? We can't be allowed a single day without rain in this winter. Alright guys, well, I don't know how much you can see here. This reminds me of the Isle of Man actually. This is Portland Bill. It's the southernmost point of the Portland Peninsula. And there's a lighthouse, it's actually quite famous. We might be able to get in there, we're not sure. But surprising how many people are here on a rainy New Year's Day. Quite a lot of, Neil thought there might just be one of us, but we might be on our own. But there's a lot of people here. So there's like another Area 51 like place over there. And this reminds me very much of the Isle of Man. You know, the North Cape Lighthouse, if you remember that. So just going to have a look around. We've got into the visitor centre now, and this is a timeline of the history of the lighthouse here. We're going to go on a tour, so hopefully we get a tour of the place soon. But there's also like I think these are for sale. Yeah, these are souvenirs. History of navigation, compasses to satellite. Oh shit! There's a lighthouse ship, man. There's a portable lighthouse. It's not Radio Caroline, Miles. Old ship tracker still there, and there's the lighthouse ship. Semaphore. Oh, and this is one of the lenses of the light. Not touching a sharp. There's some postcards of Portland Bill Light. Some children's activities. Yes, we'll be seeing this in a minute because we're going to go up the lighthouse. I went to a similar one at South Shields in near Newcastle, if you remember. There's a lighthouse on an island. That must be very remote. Lights and boys. It's quite rough out there. You can see. You see the waves crashing against the shore. Quite.
The window, isn't it? It goes.
Yeah. Feel free to pause and read this, it's actually very interesting.
You're welcome. Yeah, so if you're going outside, you should look through the funnel. So the foghorn funnel, it comes out through the red stripe, it's painted red, and it's kind of pointing southwest. So just slightly to the side of the stone when you...
Hey everybody, we're in Portland Bill Lighthouse and we made it to the top.
Well done, Ben. You got your leg working.
Yeah. I have come out of the lighthouse now, and as you saw, I did get to the top. I didn't think I'd make it, but I did. I've buried the ghosts, I think, of South Shields. As you see, I was right up there, as you saw. I'll show you the photos later. But yeah, I was right up the top there. Went up the steep stairs and things, and although I just didn't look down. It was fine. You know, I was determined to do it this time. I wasn't going to chicken out like I did at South Shields. I still feel embarrassed about that, but yeah. So, well, the weather is beautiful. No, it's not. It's still raining. I don't think it's going to stop. I think we just have to do the British thing and just moan about it to get on with it. Yeah. All right. See you later. Now that there, ladies and gents, is the old lighthouse. There's actually a much older lighthouse which is not open to the public, and it's this one there. I don't know what it is today, but yeah, you just You see, the one we just went in was only built in 1985. This is an older one from the 19th century. Yeah.
Come through this window again.
I'll get a good shot for it. Yeah. I said that I won't moan about the weather again. There you go. Now there is. It looks like a not as tall but sort of wider one. There's more windows. Maybe there was like residential areas in the. Oops, you can't see it very well. In the maybe residential areas at the top of it. Yeah.
That must be the lighthouse keeper's house, I imagine.
There's a film called The Lighthouse. I've not seen it yet.
Yes.
It's a kind of spooky film. I've not seen it,
Well,
but
there's one that.
we're not far now from where the infamous Bibby Stockholm barge is moored, but you can't actually see it. It seems to be moored in the Portland port, deliberately in a place where it can't be seen from the shore. So, Neil, we was hoping to get a shot of it. We can't. That's what we were looking for on top of the cliffs earlier today. But what we're going to do is Neil and I will show you some pictures of it and have a little talk about it later. Hello there. Good evening. It is New Year's Day 2024. Happy New Year, Neil.
Happy New Year, Ben.
I'm Ben Emlyn-Jones. I'm here with Neil Ward. Hello, Neil.
Yes, thank you for coming down to Weymouth in Dorset, Ben. So you arrived on New Year's Eve, and this morning we went out to the island of Portland. The weather's now overcast. It's a little bit rainy here, and it's starting to get dark, but we've set up a small studio here in the summer house. I know it's winter, but that's what it's called, a summer house. So we're going to do a small interview here and just talk about things, paranormal subjects, social subjects, anything that comes to mind, really. So Ben, you've been to Portland before, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I came in July.
Of last year.
And it's last year now. Yeah, and we had a lovely time. And I'll put a link in the description box of the video on my copy to our previous adventure.
A link on our YouTube channel.
And it was that's why I spoke at the Dorset Earth Mysteries group, and we went in the nice warm weather. We went up to the top of the Portland Peninsula, and it was very nice. The weather weren't so good, but we still had a good time. We saw a farm full of wallabies, and
very unexpected.
Yes, and it wasn't very Antipodean weather, I must say. You don't want to bar me down the beach, mate, today. But we did go to Portland Bill, the famous Lighthouse, and I overcome my fear of heights, and I gritted my teeth, and I didn't chicken out this time. So regular viewers will be proud of me, because they know that when I went to the South Shields Lighthouse, I did, and I'm very ashamed of myself for chickening out for that. Yeah. So, but it was really, really cool. It was a really good time. We also went looking for the Bibby Stockholm barge, which is a bit sort of not famous so much as infamous. Bibby Stockholm, of course, is a.
Went off.
Did someone switch off there?
It went dark.
Was that a ghost?
Oh, it's those.
Oh, it's that, right.
It must be a ghost.
Yeah.
There it goes again. I think it's because it's the battery connector and we're leaning on it.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay.
That's what it does.
Okay. Oh, okay. The Bibby Stockholm is a barge. Well, it's called a barge. It's actually just like a pontoon with a couple of buildings on top of it, really. I mean, there's no. It doesn't have an engine or any. It doesn't have any propulsion system or steering. It's literally just that. It's like a floating.
It's accommodation.
Yeah.
Which I think was initially designed for the oil industry, for people working on platforms and things. And it was designed for workers in the oil rig industry to have somewhere to stay when they're presumably off shift or something.
Yeah. It's been adapted for use by the government to house illegal migrants. Well, they call them migrants in waiting, or what they call migrants having their claims processed. There are various euphemisms for them. But they are. It's been used to accommodate 500 of them, which is a bit silly, really, because when you consider how many of these particular migrants there are, a barge full of 500 people is just a drop in the ocean. It's nothing. It's the equivalent of the number of people probably arrive in the country every day claiming asylum. And so I think what I suspect is it's some kind of publicity stunt, and it is. Well, it's already been closed once because they found a legionarium in the water supply, which can cause a deadly disease. You have to test water for it. I think they've got about 30 people on there now. They're hoping to fill it up to 500 eventually.
Yeah.
But what do you think it is? Because it's had a lot of publicity, which I don't think is really justified.
Yeah. Ironically, although it's had a lot of publicity and everyone seems to know about it, it's very difficult to get to because it's sort of tucked around the harbour of Portland. I mean, you drive so far down the road where it's indicated to be, but then you hit a security barrier and you can't go further than that. So any kind of reports that I've seen must have gone through the security barrier. They must have had permission to film there, which we obviously hadn't, so we couldn't get there.
Well, we thought we might get a shot from it from a long distance, but unbelievably nowhere on the Portland Peninsula, even though it includes things such as very high cliffs and things like that, and hills that look down onto the town itself, and the Portland port itself, there's nowhere where you actually have a line of sight towards the Bibby Stockholm barge, which is really strange, because it's almost like they've deliberately moored it in a location where it cannot be seen from anywhere, except, as I say, from inside the security cordon at Portland Port.
Yeah.
I don't know why they think what that is. Do they think we're going to hit it with a...
I think that's more of a security protection.
Yeah.
You know, it's seen as a strategic place to put it, and it keeps people, protesters away, or whoever disagrees with it, away from there. And whereas in all these other places, there's been hotels that they've got security guards outside hotels where they've got all these immigrants, migrants, whatever you want to call them. And so this is, I think, it's the first time they've actually put these people on a floating platform. And I think the idea is they want to try a few of them up and down the country in various ports, but this is probably the first one, and they're sort of literally testing the water with it.
Yeah, it has attracted protesters who've been protesting against the government policy. And interestingly, the protesters actually are also, they're not just protesting against the government, they're protesting against each other, because there are two main camps. One camp is saying that the government should be immediately be repatriating all these people to wherever they came from. The other side is saying that they should be allowed off the barge, have their claims processed immediately, and be allowed to wander free in the population. So obviously there's two opposing interests at work here.
And also the other thing that's been in the news recently, only in the last sort of month of December, which we've just left now, we're in January the 1st here as a time of recording, is that there was one guy from the Bibby Stockholm, I think it was a 27-year-old guy, he committed suicide. I think there's an inquest got to be held into, but it looks like he probably hung himself, I think.
Oh, God, yeah.
So I don't know whether he's being threatened to be sent home or sent on to somewhere else. I don't know the ins and outs of that, unfortunately. But he obviously found it too stressful. Sad for him, unfortunately.
Absolutely. I'm not. I'm on the side of the people who are saying that these people shouldn't be here and should be repatriated. Yet, I feel no satisfaction hearing that someone ended their life on board that ship at all, on board that barge at all, the ship. I think that's a great tragedy.
Yeah.
Definitely. So condolences to his loved ones if they're watching.
Yeah. Now, obviously, this is in the history of this. It's very, very young in the sense of what it is as a building. But how long they plan to have it for, I don't know. But whilst we was at the Lighthouse, the Portlandville Lighthouse, I was very interested to find out that the guide that took us around happened to mention the fact that people have seen things of a spooky nature there, ghosts or felt presences, haven't they?
Yes. It's a lighthouse that was built in 1905, and there's an older lighthouse further along the coast, just a few hundred yards further up the coast. Is no longer in use. And the lady who, she was an interesting lady. She had a strange accent, which I couldn't identify at first. I thought I'd heard that somewhere before. And there is a newsreader called Lise Duchet who also has it. It's actually Eastern Canadian,
Right.
From the area around New Brunswick. But she was a nice lady, and she was very supportive of me because I was suffering from terrible vertigo. And she sort of like noticed immediately and was very supportive of me. But I'm pleased to say that I gripped in my teeth and I didn't chicken out this time. And regular viewers will be proud of me because they know I did do that at the South Shields Lighthouse, and I felt a bit embarrassed about that.
So is this the first time you've been up a lighthouse?
I buried those ghosts. Yeah, to coin a phrase. Yeah, it's the first time I've actually been up a lighthouse,
Right,
and very interesting it was too to see. There's a modern light now, and they used old-fashioned lights. They used to have oil lamps, and now they have powerful electric lamps, and they now have LEDs. They used to have like incandescent filaments, and now they have LEDs. But like all old buildings, there's a lot of them do attract spirits of various kinds. Lighthouses have a spooky reputation, probably because they're very often in remote areas. And indeed, there's a film called The Lighthouse, which I've not actually seen, but I've seen a few clips of it. It looks like some kind of supernatural psychological thriller set on a remote an island, a remote island lighthouse, sometime in the 19th century, where you sometimes get 2, 3, sometimes 4 men who would be literally isolated from the entire world for sometimes several months at a time, maintaining the lighthouse. This was in a day before there was any form of communication, electronic communication. So you literally wouldn't know what was going on. You might as well be on a desert island.
Mm.
And,
Now, you're telling me about a story about a lighthouse in Scotland where it was abandoned and people found they couldn't understand where they'd gone.
This is very strange. Yes, this is the Flannan Island mystery, and indeed there's a very good bedtime story video made about this. This took place, I believe, in the Flannan Islands mystery is it's something that happened in 1900. The Flannan Islands are a remote archipelago off the coast of western Scotland, and there was the usual thing. There was a lighthouse there manned with 3 lighthouse keepers, whose job was to stay there for probably for several months at a time, just maintaining that light. This was in the days before there were any form of electronic communication. Not just in terms of themselves, you're phoning home and things like this. This was in terms of ship navigation. Their ships literally had nothing but the lighthouses, and for instance, to get bearings sometimes. And it was the lighthouse was there to help the ships navigate through channels where there might be hazardous rocks and things like this. So it was absolutely essential this light kept working, otherwise the ships might get shipwrecked. But one day, so a ship was passing, luckily in good weather, and they had plenty of visibility, and they noticed that the light wasn't on. And so a ship then, this was in December 1900. When they got to the port, they reported this, and the lighthouse authorities sent out a boat. As I said, there was no way to phone these people or radio them. They sent a boat out to check everything was okay. When they arrived at the lighthouse, they found something very strange. Everything appeared normal. There was no sign of any struggle, there was no fire in the lighthouse, there was no disaster, there had been no shipwrecks, there was no storms. Everything was in good working order. The light was off because it hadn't been refuelled for a number of hours. It had to be refuelled every few hours. No sign of any of the 3 lighthouse keepers. They were just gone. And it was weird because everything looked normal. They'd been sitting down. Look, they'd been sitting down to eat a meal, and the plates were still there. The logbook was open on the desk, and then the last entry had been like a few days earlier. And there was no sign. A chair had knocked over. The chair had been knocked over, if I remember rightly. Apart from that, there was literally no sign of any trouble, no sign of any problems. The men had just disappeared. And the authorities went and had a look around. They found no bodies anywhere. Let's say the weather had been pleasant. There had been no storms. There's no reason to think they'd been washed into the sea or anything like that, because they sometimes used to go out for walks along the coast when they were off duty, because he worked in shift, It's a mystery to this day. These men never reappeared.
That's strange.
It's extremely odd indeed, and it's an early example of one of these mysterious disappearance stories. I mean, there are earlier ones, but this is before this sort of thing was popular. What happened to those guys? It's hard to say. After 124 years, it's hard to know we're ever going to find out. There's been all kind of rumours and various conspiracy theories, and also obviously the background of the lighthouse keepers has got into stories about mysterious connections to smugglers and pirates, secret stashes of gold, bits on the side which they're and love triangles and things like that. These always happen when one of these mysterious incidents happens. You always get that. You always get that.
The most rational things first before they come up with anything paranormal. And most people would sort of jump to the sort of Bermuda Triangle thing, but this is in Scotland, nowhere near the Bermuda Triangle.
No, what's more, I must say the Bermuda Triangle is probably something of a distraction. You get more ship disappearances there because there's lots of sea lanes in that area.
Yeah.
So statistically, you're going to get more ship disappearances.
Yes, that's right.
But ships do mysteriously disappear. Sailors disappear. I mean, the Marie Celeste is another good example. This is from the 1870s, where a ship was found drifting close to the Azores. It was a transatlantic cargo ship, and when it was just found simply adrift at sea, and no one it hadn't turned up at its harbour when it was supposed to, and everyone thought, like in those days, sadly that means it's probably been lost. When the ship turns up, they found that the ship's in good working order. There's no damage to it. It's obviously not been harmed by storm. Then they thought, oh my God, the pirates have got her, and because there was no one on board the ship, and they thought the pirates had got her. But no sign of any struggle. no sign of any mayhem, no dead bodies, and the cargo was still on board the ship. The ship was carrying a cargo of whiskey from Canada to mostly Canadian whiskey to Europe, which on the bootleg market would have been worth a hell of a lot of money. And any pirate that the motive for a pirate boarding the ship would be to steal the cargo. Pirates usually what they would do is they'd board the ship, they'd kill the crew, and they'd just steal the cargo and put it on their own ship and then go and sell it for a lot of money. That hadn't happened. Also, as with the Flannel Island mysteries, everything seemed in good working order. There was plenty of rations. They hadn't run out of food. There was plenty of fresh water on board. The crew had, all the crew's belongings were still there. It looked like they just sort of like they just got up and they walked out. They found the lifeboat was missing. They got into the lifeboat and obviously left the ship. But why? And again, there's the usual sort of thing. Everything from all kinds of theories have been proposed. Again, usually it's the usual thing: the smugglers, pirates, various collaborations, homosexual jealousy. You name it, it's been suggested. None of it makes any sense. All the researchers have gone into the wives, the partners, the fathers, mothers, grandfathers, and every social connection every crew member had.
Yeah.
But there's nothing to suggest. As with Captain Shah of the Malaysian Airlines 370 plane, there's nothing actually to suggest they're in any way connected to anything dodgy. So, yeah, I'd say it's another big mystery now.
That is incredible. Incredible. I suppose it would be good to, no one's perhaps suggested it, but it would be good to bring mediums or psychics into this and see if they could pick up any information concerning the fate of those people.
Definitely, yeah. I think there have been several ghost hunts in the area. In the Flannel Island lighthouses. It's now disused. It's actually got an automatic light now, and like a lot of lighthouses, it has gone automatic. But there's I think there's some kind of museum there, and I know tourists go there. And a lot of them just go there because of this mystery.
Yeah.
And so you can actually visit the Flannel Islands Lighthouse.
And getting back to the Portland Lighthouse, Susie, our guide, did say that one of the most sceptical people that works for the team there has actually experienced the most sort of phenomena of anything of a haunted mystery nature, at least. So I asked her, what sort of things is this person picking up? And she goes, she's felt people touch her, she's heard noises in the lighthouse when she's alone by herself, she's seen sort of things. She didn't really elaborate on what sort of things she had seen. I would have loved to have spoken to the witness themselves to try and get to the bottom of it. But it's not the sort of thing you often think of about haunted lighthouses, really. And I've never really heard much reputation of it being a haunted lighthouse. Most people go there as a tourist thing. But it's because we were interested in that sort of thing. I just made a point of asking.
Yeah.
And so she answered. And it wouldn't surprise me, with getting back to the Bibby Stockholm, as I said, it's a new kind of vessel there, so it hasn't really got much of a history. But with the unfortunate guy that killed himself, it wouldn't surprise me that people might start reporting strange phenomena as a result of the guy hanging himself. Whether his soul is still there or something, energy or something might be causing.
Yeah, it's curious to know. The ghostly phenomena tend to be associated with. No one knows exactly what they are. They may even be more than one phenomenon that we generically categorise together. But they often are associated with deaths that involve anguish or pain, and violence or and fear, which would suicide definitely would be included there. This is why hospitals are often haunted, because there is a lot of pain and anguish and fear in them. Battlefields, things like that, and prisons. These places are often haunted, and lighthouses. What you get in lighthouses, I suppose, is a lot of loneliness. Not so much Portland because it's in a civilized area, but in places like the Flannel Islands, there'd be a lot. There's a film I've never seen actually called The Lighthouse. It's got Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson in it. It's quite a recent film. Again, it's set in the 19th century on a remote island lighthouse, and these two, from what I gather from watching a few clips, the two men become, they start behaving differently, and they start to experience some kind of vision associated with the light at the top of the house, the top light at the top of the tower, which they have to maintain. And I'm curious to see. It was actually filmed on a lighthouse, I think, off the coast of Ireland, and I'm curious to see this film at some point. It'd be interesting to watch.
I think it's on Netflix. I've started to watch it, but never finished it. Like a lot of things on Netflix.
Yeah, it's easy to go through and down the Netflix rabbit hole occasionally.
Now, when you mentioned briefly about your hospital portering, and you said, I recall a story where someone on your previous shift, when you were coming in on the night shift or something, a nurse or something had seen something in a room or something.
Yeah, so this was when I'm on a night shift, and I actually was on duty at the A&E department, and I came on duty, and this happened maybe an hour and a half earlier, just before the evening shift, the nurse's evening shift ended. A nurse in the clinical decisions unit, which is like an overflow area for A&E, encountered a spectral figure and ran out of the room screaming. She was on her own in the department and in the unit, and leaving the unit unattended like that was actually strictly against the rules, although I don't think she got into trouble over it because of the circumstances. But there's always got to be at least one nurse in that area at all times. And she reports she saw a spectral humanoid figure in the unit. It was like a glowing outline kind of a human being. And at the time there was a resuscitation going on in the resuscitation room.
Right.
Whether there's a connection there, I don't know, because of course people are always being resuscitated in that room. That's why it's called the resuscitation room. Basically, you get like people they try to bring people back from near death every day. It happens at least once. And in a busy unit, in a busy A&E like that, in a busy department. And this fits in with the experience of other people, such as Dr. Mitchell Gibson. He was a doctor at the Goldwater Hospital in New York City, USA, and he would encounter the spirits of patients all the time, including those that he'd recently seen die. And the reason is because he was along with being a doctor, he was also he had spontaneous mediumistic experiences. And I think he wrote a couple of books about it. He's done some interviews about it, which is very interesting. This sort of thing. So this sort of thing is quite common. I mean, there's several other stories of people who've had out-of-body experience. The near-death experience, of course, is it's not a very recent phenomenon, but it's recently become a more common phenomenon.
Yeah.
And it usually happens in hospitals. And in the NDE, the reason it's become more common is because it's only since really the 1960s or 70s we've had modern resuscitation technology, such as defibrillators and various drugs they can give you. So basically, I mean, before that, basically if your heart stopped, they would say, that's it, he's gone. Farewell. But now, if your heart stops, they can sometimes restart it.
Yeah.
And people who've had their heart restarted after experiencing long periods of cardiac arrest report these incredible experiences, and this is why it's become more common for that reason.
This is the thing that, to me, it seems pretty straightforward to me that if there's no such thing as life after death, and these people, the skeptics, say once you're gone, that's it, nothing afterwards, then these people shouldn't be coming back from anywhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is it. They should. I mean, to be fair, I mean, a lot of people do have cardiac arrest and don't experience anything strange. They just wake up later and they're okay. But there are those that do, and the skeptics are in a bit of trouble explaining this, because a lot of these things happen where you would think that the brain wouldn't be able to, you're not awake. Now, you're not awake and you're not asleep. It's not like having a dream, because your brain is not in a state when it would be dreaming. Now, lately there's been some very interesting experiments by someone called Dr. Jimo Bojgin, and she and her team have actually done experiments on comatose patients, and on 4 comatose patients, with the permission of the relatives, they have put them on penetrative electroencephalograms when the doctors, quote, pull the plug, unquote. So this is someone who's in a profound vegetative state, and they're never going to recover.
Yeah.
So very usually the doctor will say, look, we're going to have to just switch them off because they're not going to get better, they're going to die anyway. So what this person found out, and I wrote an article about this just a couple of days ago, is that on 2 of the 4 patients, there was something remarkable happened. The brain seemed to come to life for just about 200 seconds or so. The person's brain seemed to come to life, and this was about 13 minutes after they'd been withdrawn from life support. And there was various gamma and theta waves in the brain, which indicates and also set parts of the brain lit up, which indicates waking consciousness and problem solving and things like that. And then eventually this activity ceased, and then all brain activity ceased. But there's several ways of looking at this. I mean, I think the materialists and the skeptics will probably, they may well interpret it on one level, which is to say, well, this is the smoking gun. This is what we were looking for all along. We told you NDEs are caused by brain activity. And now we found out that sometimes when people are in the brain's been hypoxic and is virtually dead, it does come to life like that, and that's probably all the NDE is. Well, that's firstly, we don't know the person is experiencing consciousness. All we know is there's certain that areas of the brain are mysteriously coming to life at the very, very end. Secondly, well, why does the brain do that if that's the case? How does that happen? Is it just an accidental byproduct of our brain's workings? Seems a strange thing to hear. There's no evolutionary advantage for that happening. And also I'd say that it doesn't explain the NDE for several reasons. I think those of us who believe in survival and like the idea, I don't think we have anything to worry about when it comes to this new research, because it doesn't, I think, explain the whole NDE. It doesn't explain people who have specific cases when people have experienced NDEs when this activity is not happening. For example, the lady whose name I can't remember, but she had her heart was stopped deliberately so she could have a certain form of brain surgery.
Yeah.
Because she had a flat EEG the whole time.
Yeah.
And there's the qualitative element to NDEs, which is different, and people describe them. People don't just describe them as being like a dream. It's not like, it's just like, I was awake and I was imagining talking to my grandma and stuff like that. They describe, firstly, it's very lucid. Secondly, it has enormous emotional power. People will describe it as being more real than real. They describe it almost as being like some platonic ideal of whatever they are experiencing. So I don't think that Dr. Boygin's work actually does explain the NDE in that sense. If indeed that is, if the person, obviously they didn't recover and they can't recover now. Somebody actually said to me when because I wrote an article about this, and someone wrote a comment underneath saying, "Oh my God, why don't they just resuscitate them then? Because their brain's coming back." And I said they can't, because the brain is literally the only thing working at that point.
Yeah.
And they can't. The reason they pull the plug on them is because
everything else is
dead. Everything else. That all the other organs aren't working. The heart doesn't work properly. Things like that. And so it's a medical paradox of why this is happening. And what's interesting about Dr. Boygin, I must say, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing her name. She's a Chinese lady. Her previous work was with NN-dimethyltryptamine and its effects on the brain. And what I suspect is that she has had some kind of collaboration with Dr. Rick Strassman, who himself has worked closely with Graham Hancock and several other researchers. Rick Strassman's an amazing individual, because he wanted to study DMT experiments on people's brains and people's visions just simply as a psychological study. He was a psychiatrist. He didn't believe in anything spiritual, and he came out with an amazing revelation, even though he knew this was that the DMT was a physiological effect on the brain. So in a sense it's very similar to what Dr. Boygin discovered about the dying patients. It reveals a spiritual reality. So what he believes he discovered was some kind of a place where spirit and flesh and spirit meet, in a sense. There is a mechanism, a physiological mechanism, which gives us spiritual experiences. There's no reason why our brain should do that.
Yeah.
We don't. 13 minutes after your heart has stopped, there's no evolutionary advantage in you having some kind of your brain lighting up and giving you some kind of wanton chemical orgy. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's an accidental byproduct of our brain, but it's universal across all societies and things like
It's
that.
also interesting because, when a lot of people are close to death and not expected to live long, suddenly, for some strange reason, normally, in the last day of their death, just prior to them dying, they suddenly sort of rejuvenate a little bit and can sit up in bed and sort of talk to people for maybe
Near-death lucidity.
an hour, and then they snuff it.
Near-death lucidity is very, very interesting, that, isn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, it reminds you a bit of that. Obviously, this is not near-death. This is like, they're nearly dead, and it's internal lucidity. But yeah, Dr. Peter Fennick has written about this, about how people suddenly become much more alert towards the end, and they'll sometimes ask to say goodbye to people. They'll also report that they see. They'll often say things like, "Oh, your granddad's over there. He's standing behind you." And Granddad's dead. No, he's standing right there.
Yeah.
They often report encounters with angelic figures and things like that.
Yeah.
So I believe this. I don't believe that this is the materialist smoking gun.
Yeah.
I think I think it adds to the entire mystery of NDEs, and it could be. I think it's as much interest to a survivalist as it is to a materialist.
Well, of course, there's Ibra Alexander, who was a brain. I think he still is a brain doctor, but he actually had. I think he was in a coma, and his brain was pretty much destroyed or something, and I'm not exactly sure on the medical scale where he was classed as being dead or just in a deep coma or something. But he's written a book about his adventures on the other side, where he actually claimed he met his deceased sister.
Yeah.
Whilst he was out dead in this coma or something, where they were just keeping his body alive. But he said he shouldn't have actually survived this; he should have actually died.
It's a very common feature, actually, is the meeting the dead relatives who have like a tunnel. It often begins with an OBE. A typical one begins with an OBE, so out of body experience. So you're just above your body looking down. Now some NDs end there, and then you just then you recover consciousness. But then others then find themselves going up, moving away from that position to a tunnel of light. That goes up to what they go up to a light, and then they find themselves in what Dr. Fenwick calls the area, which is a location. It's often very pleasant. It's often very natural. It's like a garden. Some people describe it as being like a garden with like trees and flowers and birds flying in the trees and things like that. And that's very often where you have encounters with relatives who've died, who appear to be, who very often they're pleased to see you, but then they say, "It's great to see you, but you're going to have to go back. This isn't your time. You have to go back." And then they regain consciousness and they're back in our world. And it really is. It was something that fascinates me, and I think it should be of interest. It's in the interest of all of us to explore this, because this is an experience we all are going to have to face at some point. It's the one certainty of our future.
Yeah.
Is that our physical life on this world will come to an end, and we're going to have to take a leap into the dark and find out whatever happens next time.
It's interesting. My mum, when she passed away suddenly, totally unexpectedly in 2016, she actually passed away with an aortic aneurysm, although we didn't know that at the time. About 10 months later, she came back through via a Ouija board session with some people that we had never met before. We had gone to the house, we were like extra bums on the seats because there had been a cancellation of a booking, so we were phoned up that morning. Would we be willing to go along to this session? Totally last minute thing. We thought, oh yeah, okay, so we took our audio recorder, and lo and behold, my mum came through as one of the last sort of spirits to visit, if you want to call it that. And one of the questions I asked her, I was obviously shocked that my mum had come through, but I was kind of pleased as well, as of course you can imagine. But so I said, have you met your mum and dad yet? And she goes, yes, my mum came and met me, which was very interesting. So about a year after that, I had a second session with this duo who was doing a Ouija board, and this time I was more prepared because I knew I was going to go to it. So I thought, right, if my mum comes through, I've got a whole list of kind of scientific questions to ask her, as well as how are you and all that kind of stuff, the social sort of set. And I said, when we spoke last time, you said your mum came and met you. So what happened? Did you go through a tunnel of light or anything like that? And she said, no. She goes, my mum was waiting in the corner of the room, waiting for me to die, sort of thing. And then she took me. So it's like the dead are waiting there to collect the newly departed dead, because they already know they're going to die, and they're waiting to collect them. Now the interesting thing as well about my gran, who collected my mum, her mum, we called her Granny Bob, it was just a family name. She actually died in New Zealand. She'd emigrated to New Zealand after her husband, my grandfather, died maybe 3 years earlier, and she decided she wanted a change of life, a new start, and so she emigrated. She went through all the loopholes, emigrated to New Zealand. Her sister was there, her stepsister was there, so she started a new life with her. Never ever saw her again, basically, because she died out there after 6 months of being out there. She had only been 6 months out there. But I remember prior to her going, one of my brothers was staying with her to keep her company, and he said, Granny Bob, do you believe on life on other planets? You know, he was like 14 at the time or something. And she goes, no, and I don't believe in life after death either.
It's anticipating his next
Yeah,
question.
and it's like, yeah, so I always kind of thought about that. So it's funny, she had no belief in life after death, and yet here she was, like 40 plus years later, collecting my mum from the threshold known as death.
Well, if there is, I mean, if there is an afterlife, I think we've got a good reason to be hopeful. I don't know for certain. I mean, there's no way to know for certain until you just got to wait till it's your turn. But I think we've got a good reason to be hopeful. I'm quite positive there is. Then it's something that, whether you believe it or not, you will get to enjoy it at some point. Hopefully enjoy it anyway. At one point. So if you don't believe in it, when you die, presumably you say, oh, and then you'll say, well, do you believe in it? You'll actually experience it, then you'll have to believe in it.
It's funny because there was this skeptic guy who was debating with me over comments on YouTube. And I was putting some comments to this psychic person. Everyone's saying, oh, this psychics are all fake, they're all mediums are fake, blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, hang on, have you thought about this? Have you considered this? Blah, 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 blah. And he said, I feel sorry for you because, like, when you'll die, you'll find that there'll be nothing. And I said, well, what do you mean? How can I find there'll be nothing if I'm dead? That doesn't make sense, you know. And how can you feel sorry for me? Because if there's nothing and you think that I'm going to be disappointed, I can't be disappointed if I don't exist.
That's it. If you feel disappointment, then obviously you still exist.
Yes. Yeah. He didn't realise what he was saying. Basically.
Yeah, that's a very odd thing to say. Yes, that's a very odd way to put it.
Yeah. So
Richard Dawkins says, I don't fear death at all, because for me, my own death is essentially, from my position, is a non-event, because it is the termination of my existence. Therefore, why should I be afraid of that when I won't exist to either fear it or enjoy it or suffer from it? I feel sorry for my relatives, because they, of course, will miss me and they will be sad. People who love me will be very sad that I've gone. But I myself will suffer no consequences at all, any more than the eternity that existed before my birth. So, yeah, that's an odd thing for a skeptic to say, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I always say that I'll always win an argument with a person over whether there's life after death or not. Because the thing is, at the end of it, either we're both dead and so we can't claim to be the winner, or we do survive the grave and then I can claim to be the winner. And I can go up to the skeptic and say, there you go, I told you there was a life after death.
Well, it's funny because, like, that sort of thing does happen. There's a guy I know called Paul Davids, who I've interviewed a couple of times. He's an interesting chap, actually. He produced the Roswell movie, the film about the Roswell.
In '97, was it?
I think it was in the 90s. Yeah, he made a film. But he's made another documentary since then called the Life After Death Project.
Yeah.
In which he describes his own encounters with the spirit of his departed friend, Forrest J. Ackerman. Now, this is a guy who supposedly invented the term science fiction.
Yeah.
He was a big science fiction fanatic, and his whole house was a museum to sci-fi. He died in 2016. He was quite old by then, and he and Paul had been good friends for a long time. And Forrest had always been an atheist and a materialist. He never believed in any form of life after death. But Paul, then something strange happened with Paul sometime after Forrest died. Paul was he was just working in his study, and he's got like a little desk in his bedroom, and he printed something out for work, and he pulled it out of the printer and he just threw it onto the bed, and he went off and did something and came back later. When he came back, he found something strange. There was an ink blot on the page, which appeared to be covering up some of the words of a letter of the phrase was "spoke to Joe Amodi," and an ink blot had covered up a few of the letters of that phrase. Now, I don't have time to go into detail, but basically, what was left with the ink covering it up was the phrase, a phrase which sounds like one of the jokes that Forrest Ackerman used to tell.
Right.
He used to like verbal jokes.
Yeah.
He had his own way of making little quips when it comes to different words and different phrases. And Paul said, "My goodness, that's
Bit of a coincidence.
yeah, that sounds like something that Forrest would have told to me." And what's more, where did the ink blot come from? It wasn't on the sheet when he took it out the printer. In fact, Paul had the ink tested, and it actually wasn't the kind of ink you get in printer toner anyway.
Yeah.
It was some other kind of ink, and they couldn't quite identify what type.
Right.
And he said, "Is this Forrest sending me a message from the beyond?" And then he started looking into it, and he found that other people had had experiences, strange coincidences, computers doing weird things, like strange emojis appearing. One guy was some people who went to Forrest's grave, and they came back and they found the computer did something very strange. Also, Forrest Ackerman's house, which is now a kind of museum to his life, was there's shadow beings have been reported there, and it's as if maybe Forrest did get to the other side and said, "Oh wow, Paul was right all along. I better find some way to tell him." That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing documentary, the Life After Death project. You know.
I'll have to look into that. Yeah, I mean that's one of those things that I've always professed that when I get to the other side and I've acclimatised to the new conditions over there, whatever they may be, I hope I'm acclimatised, that I would then find a way of communicating with those left behind. Now, the obviously easy way of communicating, I say easy way, it might be difficult, but I'm assuming it would be slightly easier than trying to do things like making marks on ink blots, would be through a medium. And so those around me, for instance, my wife, my daughter, probably not my son because he's a little bit sceptical, but my wife and my daughter would presumably seek out a medium or try and see one at some point, and maybe hope that I could send some messages via that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, there's several different things you could do. I mean, I personally would. I quite like the idea of a coded message as well. I mean, Harry Houdini did this. Now, Houdini actually died very suddenly in 1926 after he got into a fight with someone and suffered an injury which killed him. But he did actually produce a coded message which he left with his wife, Bess.
Yeah.
Now, and as you're probably aware, Houdini was a diehard skeptic.
Yeah.
I mean, he was kind of the James Randi of his time. He used to go around exposing fakes and things like that. And but it's possible he left the door just slightly ajar, the possibility that he would experience an afterlife, and if so, he could find a way to get back. But he did warn, because he knew there was a lot of fraud, or what he perceived as a lot of fraud in the industry. He left a coded message with his wife. Now, this is where it gets a bit weird, because if you look at the various histories of Houdini and his life that have been written in recent times, you'll learn that Bess, even though Bess spent the rest of her life going to various mediums and holding seances, she never received a coded message from Houdini. And you may also be aware that the Harry Houdini fan club meets every Halloween night, and at every Halloween night they hold a ceremonial seance for Harry Houdini. And the thing about it is that which is interesting, because Houdini died on Halloween night.
Right.
It's very spooky. And but I actually came across something very, very strange. I came across a Reader's Digest Encyclopedia of the Paranormal. So one of the other porters gave it to me, actually. It was from 1983, so it's quite old. And in there, it actually reports that Houdini did get back to Bess and left the coded message.
Yeah.
And I wrote an article about this on Paranormal called The Houdini Code. And I just thought, firstly, it's interesting that exists, and secondly, it's been omitted from recent histories. Although, strangely enough, after all this time, I gasped when I saw this. It has been acknowledged in a recent film, one that's just been released, called Nandor Fodor and the Talking Mongoose, which is a rather historically inaccurate film about the Jeff the Talking Mongoose mystery from the Isle of Man. And so I just thought it was firstly it's very strange that that story just disappeared from history. Then it's now come back all of a sudden in a recent film, and I just think that's very odd.
That's crazy.
It's extremely odd. It's extremely crazy. To me, this is almost as weird as someone's brain coming back to life when they're about to die. So it's one of those strange things that happens in this world, Neil.
So that suggests to me then that although Houdini was trying to expose these fake mediums, the very fact that he had decided on this course of action, I'll give my wife a code that I'll relay from the other side, it suggests to him that he must have believed in it, he just hadn't found the right mediums. So he's kind of saying, look, in the potential possibility that I might survive the grave, I'll give you a coded message that You know, he assumes it's going to be an easy way just to get a coded message from me. Of course, mediumship is a very difficult thing to do. It's not as easy as people seem to think.
No.
I mean, a lot of these skeptics, well, why don't they tell them their name, address? Why don't they tell them their phone number? Or why don't they say... It's actually very, very difficult. It's the equivalent of trying to send smoke signals across a mountain.
Extremely,
You know, when you've got a Native American on a mountain trying to send a smoke signal, they can't tell you their bank account number, their phone number, or how many children they might have. They can just maybe give you 2 puffs of smoke, warning, there's danger ahead or something, you know.
Exactly, it's a code, yeah, it's like a code. I mean, exactly, and it's... also, I must say that mediums vary in quality, and I think there's a bit of a Dunning-Kruger effect with mediums, because a lot of them overestimate their own abilities. And I mean, I don't believe that you know what the skeptics say is they're all fakes or crazy. No, it's not that. Most of them, I think, are just perfectly ordinary people, but they do, and a lot of them have a real gift, and a lot of them go to development circles to try and make it to create skills to improve their abilities. But they still have limited. I feel they still have a limited ability to interpret messages from the other side.
Well, how it is that often they're getting it. The most common form of mediumship is what they call clairvoyance, which is to see. And the medium, and I know this myself because I do it myself, will get impressions sent by the other side. That's the theory of it anyway. I can't say that's the science of it, but the theory is that the spirits on the other side will impress you telepathically. And sometimes they can get a feeling across, or an idea or a thought across, and sometimes they'll show you visual things, and sometimes it's both at the same things. For instance, last year I was doing a demonstration of mediumship here in Weymouth, and there was a lady there. I'd never met her before, but I felt drawn to give her a message, and I was giving her various bits of information. All was being accepted, and then suddenly I was presented, and I visually saw it as a pair of hands just being held out to me like that. And I felt the word, or the feeling, or I just had a feeling that something medically wrong was with the pair of hands. Like either an injury or something medically wrong with these hands. They weren't quite normal, and I wasn't quite sure. So you're never given the whole story, but you're given a clue. I've got to relay this to the person. There's something, and so I said, look, I don't know whether this is yourself or some relatives around you or people you know, but does anyone that you know have a problem with their hands, whether they've injured their fingers or had a problem with their broken nails? But I feel that someone's got a pair of hands and there's something medically wrong with them in some way. And she says, yes, I can take that. She goes, it's not me. She goes, it's my brother and my father. And they were the people that are actually communicating this through me. So I found out. So she explained to me, because I was giving her information, but I didn't know who it was coming from. And she said, I think you got my father and my brother there. And basically she said both her father and her brother both had a condition which she said thankfully hasn't been passed on to me, but they were both born with their thumbs, and instead of having a normal human thumb, they'd got the equivalent of having a big toe on their hand. I don't know what it's called scientifically or medically speaking, but they both had it. And so what I was getting through was actually technically correct. And I think either the father or the brother was coming through and trying to impress upon me this information. Again, it was something unique to those two people and no one else. And it would only fit them. And I was getting something that's medically wrong with fingers, and you know someone in your family with that issue. And she said, yes, it was my father and my brother.
Hey,
Yeah, so I thought that was quite interesting to get that, you see. Now, again, the father or the brother couldn't give me their phone number, they couldn't tell me their bank accounts. They might sometimes, they might be able to tell me an area that they come from. One of the things I did pick up was that one of them went out on a fishing trip, and I felt so emotionally disturbed on this fishing trip. And I wanted to say, I felt so disturbed that I wanted to say that someone either drowned or nearly drowned, but I felt I didn't have the confidence to say that. So all I said was, I feel something drastically has happened on this fishing trip to make everyone really emotionally upset on this fishing trip. And she goes, yes, I can tell that. And she said, someone nearly drowned. And I thought, Jesus, I nearly got it. I should have said it, you know. But there are mediums that are way up the league. They're very far and few between, but they can get names, dates. There was a guy called Ross Bartlett, and he gave me some fantastic information about 7 years ago now. He was 23 at the time, so I put him, he's probably about 30 years old now, I suppose. Young by my standards anyway. But I'd heard good things about him, and Monica and I, that's my wife, we'd gone to Ruislip to see this guy, and we knew it was in a certain building, and we had seen on the internet the building looked rather like a medieval old building with black and white beams and things like that. So we thought, oh, that'd be easy to find. And when we got there, we got to the area, there's actually 5 buildings, and they all look the same. And we thought, oh, crikey, which one do we go in? We were running late because of the traffic, so we went in the first building. No, it's not this one, it's a wedding reception. We went to go out. We went to the next building. We were totally confused about which building, and finally we saw a door open on one of them, and so we went to it, and we could hear a voice, and we thought, oh, this must be it. We sort of quietened our voices, and there was a man in a t-shirt there, or a shirt, a blue shirt, and he said, oh, go in and pay your money at the end. And he was like doing the money on the door. He goes, go and sit in those chairs over there, and you can get paid with the cash afterwards. We said, oh, thank you. So we went and quietly sort of sat in. We'd only be sitting in there for 5 minutes, and Ross Bartlett, the medium, was giving a reading to some lady already, and then as soon as he finished that lady, he suddenly turned to me, and he said, I'd like to come to the gentleman on my left. And I thought, oh, blimey, I've only just been here. I only got here just late, so I pressed record on my audio recorder, so it's all recorded, this thing, for anyone that wants to analyse it, or even explain it. The skeptics would have trouble explaining this one.
Well, they'd say he's a fraud, and
he's researched me or something. But this is where
broke into your house and
this is very
went through
difficult
your diary.
to explain.
Yes.
So basically, we got in this building, and this guy says, go and sit down there, you can pay me the money afterwards. And we said, thank you very much. And then Ross Bartlett, he was already doing a reading on someone, and after that he literally turned to me and said, I'd like to come to the gentleman on my left. And I thought, oh my God, it's me. So I started recording it, and basically he said, I've got a lady here called Agnes. And I thought, well, I don't know anyone called Agnes. I thought, he must have the wrong person. I said, I'm sorry, I don't know anyone called Agnes. He says, well, she knows you. And I thought, oh, here we go. So, this sounds a bit fishy. So, but she said she'd like to mention Morgan. And I thought, oh my God, Morgan is the name of my daughter. So I sort of sat up and I thought, this is a bit interesting. And she likes to visit Morgan because she loves children or something. And my daughter's quite younger then. So apparently she spent a lot of time around Morgan as a spirit when Morgan was growing up and stuff. And anyway, so she went on, and then she said, is your brother, can you get hold of your brother? And I said, well, yeah, kind of, I could probably ring him. Maybe you might want to ring him because he just confirmed that he goes around graveyards, and Agnes is wanting to say that she sees your brother Phil, and that was again, Phil is true, my brother Phil goes around family graveyards to hunt down family members on old forgotten graves in gravesites, and he apparently been to this person's grave. And so then she said, he said, oh, I'm not sure about this. He said, hang on a minute. He goes, okay, let's go for it. He said, do you see that man over there on the door, by the door in the blue shirt? That was the man that let me in. He said, go and sit down. I said, yeah. He said, his name is Chris Hayes. And as soon as he said that, I thought, oh my God. And he said, they're telling me, or Agnes is telling me, that Morgan, my daughter, is also connected to a Chris Hayes. And I said, yes, I'd like to confirm that my daughter has been going out with a guy also called Chris Hayes.
That's amazing, isn't it?
And yeah, and I thought, oh my God, what is the odds of that guy being called Chris Hayes? He's come in, said the name of my daughter, then he said the name of my daughter's boyfriend, and he happens to have the same name as the guy that let me in. And I thought, what is that? How could they have done that? And I thought about this afterwards. I thought, this is presumably why he came to me straight away, because he had the energy in his mediumship at that point, and they had this three-pronged attack where they could kind of say this Chris Hayes name, which was a 1 in a million chance to sort of say that sort of thing, And anyway, I told my mum this, and I played her the recording, but we didn't know who this Agnes was. And she was telling my Auntie Sue, my mum was relating the whole experience to my Auntie Sue over the phone. And Auntie Sue says, well, I know Auntie who Agnes is. She goes, that's your Auntie Doris. And I thought, well, I know Auntie Doris. And apparently my Auntie Doris, it wasn't her real name. Apparently her real name was Agnes, as the reading said. And but she never liked that name. So she called herself by a middle name, which was Doris. So everyone knew her name was Doris, and I never knew, all these years, her name was Agnes. And yet she was coming through to prove a point. You see, something that they couldn't even look up. So I thought that was a really good example of mediumship. And if there's a skeptic out there who can explain how it was done, I'd be interested to hear it.
I suppose the answer they give you would be that this guy must have broken into your house and photocopied your diary or something. Which, of course, is that to me is what I call the clown's day off fallacy. It's this is the essentially what's meant by that is that if someone photographs the Loch Ness monster and you tell a skeptic about it, they'll say, no, that's a clown with a day off from the circus playing a trick on you. And my answer would be, what clown? Do you know this clown? Who is it? Tell me all about them. He says, oh, I don't know what clown it is, it's just that's more likely. So what the skeptic is doing essentially, what they've turned is that debunking becomes an exercise of the imagination. You can debunk something without any evidence at all. You just simply have to make something up. And it wins by default because it doesn't involve strange lizards in Scottish lochs. And to me, through some principle the skeptic never explains, but that's just wins by default. And so, if a skeptic said that, and then firstly that's a very serious matter to accuse this guy of a crime, of fraud. Firstly, breaking and entering and fraud. It's also a fact that this guy's this skeptic has just made something up about this person.
Yeah.
And
without any evidence whatsoever.
Without no evidence at all, and just says, yeah, but it doesn't involve spirits, so it wins by default. It has to be real, and you have to accept that as real in the absence of any other evidence. And I don't accept that. I think that is bad logic.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's a very remarkable experience.
Yeah.
It's very rare you get mediumship that good.
That's
but it does
right.
happen. It does happen.
He is one in a few thousand. Of
There were some mediums. I mean, there was a lady I knew called Shirley Bolstock, I think, who was she gave me a very good reading. I won't go into details because it's it's a little bit touchy personally.
Yeah.
But she told me some remarkable things. And, sadly, she's on the other side herself now. Unfortunately, she died a few months ago. But yeah, and there are some really, really good mediums in places. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, that particular reading bowled me over because it was the fact that they could bring these two names of Chris Hayes together. They'd have Chris Hayes, this guy who worked for him. He was the guy that used to drive him around because Ross didn't drive at the time. I don't know if he does now, but he didn't drive anywhere. So this guy was like his driver who would drive him to things, events and that, and kind of look after him, and he would take the money on the door sort of thing. And people would say, oh, well, you must have booked your tickets and, he knew where you're going to sit and stuff like that. And in fact, that's not the case because I had got my tickets through a guy who knew me, and he would just reserve some seats, that's all. And so he didn't have a floor plan of where anyone was sitting. And also the fact is that how could they logically connect Chris Hayes that was with my daughter to the Chris Hayes that was the guy that's doing the tickets? I mean, that is a 1 in a million kind of weird connection, isn't it?
Yeah,
a spooky connection. And the fact is that they gave my daughter's name, he gave my brother's name, he also mentioned about my Welsh grandfather, and apparently said my Welsh grandfather says carry on doing the artwork, and I thought, well, how does he know I do artwork, And people say, oh, but they get it all off Facebook, but Agnes was never mentioned on Facebook because I didn't even know her name was Agnes. And so there's no way of breaking into my diary because I never write about my Auntie Doris, let alone Agnes. But it was the fact is that he could have said, oh, I'm picking up a mystical name of Morgan or anything like that, does that mean? And I thought, well, yeah, it would mean something to me. But to get the name of Chris Hayes and the fact that this guy was called Chris Hayes was a blinder for me, absolute blinder. So we're going to move on to another topic, something that I sent you recently, and I was quite impressed that I found this actually. It's to do with the US Air Force actually commissioning a study into teleportation.
This is unbelievable. I mean, what exactly is it? What exactly could it possibly be? It's not science fiction. Unfortunately, I hadn't actually read all the document you sent me, but what's it all about?
So basically, I think this occurred in about 2003 or 4. It's about 20 odd years ago that they did this, and I don't know if there's any follow-ups to it, but they commissioned this kind of physics expert who ran his own company called Warp Drive Industries or something like that. Yeah, appropriate name, I guess. He was basically writing about all the possibilities of teleportation. Is it possible in present-day quantum physics? And he was basically setting the stage for what they currently know about it. Because I guess the Air Force, presumably, for some reason, why they wanted to know about it, whether it's connected with UFOs, it wasn't really mentioned. But why did the Air Force take an interest in teleportation for starters? I mean, they're to do with, flying aircraft, and why would they want to know about teleportation? It seems a bizarre thing for them to commission an investigation into. What piqued that curiosity, I wonder?
I don't know. I mean, it's a strange thing. It's an interesting, warp drive is a bit of that's a great name for a company. But you see, teleportation has been observed, believe it or not, in subatomic particles. In other words, quantum physics. So, for example, someone did an experiment once where they fired neutrons at an impermeable barrier. In other words, it was like heavy metal, like lead or something. And believe it or not, some of these neutrons actually did. They kind of put what this scientist said. This was done at Lawrence Livermore Laboratories. The neutrons could not have passed through the barrier, or more neutrons than would normally pass through that barrier appeared on the other side, indicating that through the vagaries of quantum physics, it is possible actually to teleport from one place to another, along with all the other weird stuff to do with quantum physics, superposition and things like that, and spooky action at a distance, entanglement and stuff. But you see, it's teleportation. If you describe it as an object or something moving, essentially disappearing in one place and reappearing in another, that can be done through the Einstein-Rosen bridge, the wormhole. And this is what is often used in science fiction to allow, as a plot device essentially, to allow people on a spaceship. And indeed, this guy's called Warp Drive. His company's called Warp Drive. Warp Drive is a plot device from Star Trek that allows the Starship Enterprise to travel vast different distances in space within the lifetimes of the grandchildren of the crew. So which wouldn't happen in real life without that. But the warp drive, that is the ability to essentially bypass long distances in space, or even short distances in space, exists in theory. It was worked out more than 100 years ago by Albert Einstein and someone called Rosen. I don't know what his other name was, but there was a paper published over a century ago in which they describe how, in theory, this could happen through these wormholes, what's called wormholes. Now, there was no practical way of doing this. Indeed, today we know, supposedly, certainly in publicly available science, there's no way of knowing how to create wormholes that actually exist. If they did, it would be very, very interesting. But because if they exist in secret, then it would be very interesting if that secret is declassified, because it would allow, for example, we could create transport systems that were far superior to any other. It means we could travel vast distances instantly. We literally step through a door, and you could go and visit your friend in Australia, for example, by just stepping through a little door. And that's just the start of it. You wouldn't even Australia. Distance would no longer be an object. So you could visit Australia, but you could also visit a distant planet in another galaxy, in the same way. If we could find a practical way to make this work safely and effectively. And a lot of science fiction horror actually concerns the use of wormholes and them going wrong. Something horrible happens when they go wrong. The Dark, for example, the German TV series is about that. Yeah. So, if it's strange, because there's a guy called Ashton Forbes who's made an astonishing claim. He mentioned earlier the MH370 disappearance, this strange mystery of an aeroplane, an entire airline that disappeared almost 10 years ago, just vanished into thin air while it was on the journey between Malaysia and China. He has found a film which appears to show these strange objects, weird, I don't know what you call them, weird, is there someone else? Sorry, is there someone?
I think it's Monica.
Oh, right. With these, there's a picture, basically this video shows an airliner, it's a Boeing 777, like MH370, you can't identify exactly, flying along, and these UFOs are chasing it, these little strange white ovoid things, and then three of them suddenly start circling this aircraft, just an equal distance all the way around it, just going round it like that as it's flying along. Then there's a flash of light and everything disappears. Orbs, aircraft, everything. An action form, so he says this is not extraterrestrial, he believes. He says this is basically secret government technology being used to teleport the plane.
Where to, though?
Exactly. I mean, I'm sorry I didn't get the chance to read more of the literature you sent me.
It's interesting because they talked about Stargates, which is interesting because you would think that's the TV series, but the Stargate, the word Stargate is taken from some of this scientific research, and the towards the end of it, he was talking about aspects of teleportation in nature, and so he's used an example where in China, communist China, they've done experiments there, and they found for some reason Chinese kids, I don't know why it's Chinese kids of all people, they could teleport objects through walls, and this was observed by scientists, credible people, and these kids had the ability somehow to bring objects, I can't remember what objects they were, you know, small items, from one room to another, and they were doing typical Uri Geller stuff, bending spoons, that kind of stuff as well, but the other thing was that they were able to teleport things. They couldn't explain how they did it, they just knew that it was happening in some strange, weird way. And why it was children, don't know. Maybe maybe they're kind of like they're easy to locate in that sense, because when you're an adult and you're doing a job in China, you perhaps want to suppress these abilities if you've got them because you don't want to come to the attention of the authorities, but somehow children don't realise that sort of stuff, that you should suppress these things, and they're perhaps doing it as fun, and people start to pick up on it maybe. I don't know, that's my theory behind it. But so if they knew that like 20 years ago, what do they know now about teleportation?
Well, exactly. I mean, it's obviously something that they're keeping secret because they want to use for their own private purposes, like so much else, like free energy, like anti-gravity and things like this. Obviously, if it could be, you could do a lot of good with this sort of thing if it was used. I mean, the practical applications of such technology, if they were allowed to everyone, would be limitless. I've already described a few of them. It would revolutionise space exploration beyond all belief. It would transportation, things like that. Oh, it could be used for all kinds of things, and I suppose it could also. I'm sure someone will think of some way to weaponise it. It could be used to spy on people. It could, in a tyrannical regime, it could be used as the ultimate surveillance state.
Yeah.
Things like that. You could literally have like hidden cameras in anywhere you wanted them. You could teleport them wherever you want. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. So, I mean, actually in spiritualism, they have a thing called apples, which are these objects that, in seances, they would be objects that would be teleported by the spirits that are running the seance, and they might take them, say, I know there's one example where they take something like a ring or something like that, or a brooch or something from an Egyptian tomb in ancient Egypt, and they teleported it into the room of this seance somewhere in Britain, and they typically would fall through the ceiling and just land on the table. And in Helen Duncan's seances, similar things happened, and also in other seances, I think it was in the Skull experiment, a newspaper from the 1940s of the time of Helen Duncan sort of fell through the ceiling, and it had a news report about Helen Duncan on this newspaper, and they tested it all out, and the paper and the ink were from the 1940s. Yeah,
that's an important point, because I mean, of course, the sceptics will say, well, you just went and got a back copy from the newspaper office, because you can go and order a back copy of any edition for a reasonable price, and indeed people do it as a novelty. You can, like they say, you know, could order newspaper from the day you were born and things like this, but it will be printed on fresh paper or using modern printer toner. But this particular, as you just said, it was printed in a particular kind of ink which had a lot of tar in it, which is not made nowadays. And the reason they used this kind of ink in the war is because of rationing.
Yeah.
And and of course, if it was an original newspaper, then the paper would have deteriorated. It would have turned bright yellow, because paper does actually. You say if you've got an old book, it might look a bit yellow. Some of the paper. The reason is because paper contains a chemical called lignin, which oxidizes. When it mixes with the air, there's a chemical reaction which makes it turn yellow.
Yeah.
So that's that I think is an important point. So reports, I think, are very, very real. And again, this is the kind of thing that when things just appear in midair, this indicates that spirit has the ability to influence our world. This is essentially physical mediumship. in which spirit actually causes changes in our world of a supernatural nature, which I think is really, which again, but despite the skeptics saying it's all fake, it's all nonsense, I've witnessed this myself. I witnessed a physical medium called Jason Harrington transfigure himself, transfigure his own hands. And I mean, I don't know if there's any other explanation for what he did. His hands, his fingers stretching out, his fingernails turning red. He was sitting literally about as far away from me as you are, and I saw his hands do this.
That's interesting. I know who you're talking about because he was called J Love as well, wasn't he?
Was
This
he?
guy? Yeah.
Oh, right.
He had another name. He went by another name called J Love for a while, anyway. And I'd gone and seen him do a demonstration of doing the same kind of phenomena in Hitchin in Hertfordshire, and they'd blacked out all the windows. It was a hall, and I actually saw nothing. I have to be honest and sort of say, well, I saw nothing. He had 2 infrared lamps placed on the table, on the floor in front of him, and the lamps would be shining up at his face, so it had that almost Hammer horror kind of Dracula look, you know, with the lights sort of shining on your face. And we all watched, and I could hear people behind me going, oh wow, look at that, oh my God, you know. And I was looking, and I was thinking, I can't see a thing. What's going on? Why can't I see it? And halfway through, he sort of said, is there any questions? And so I said, yeah, can you... He was sort of supposed to be talking as a guide, by the way, at this point. His spirit guide was saying, any questions? So I said, yeah, can you bring through anyone? And he goes, yes, we can try. He says, come and sit with me, my friend. So I had to go and sit in front of him, in front of everybody else that was watching. So I literally had a front row seat, literally. And I had to hold his hands whilst he did this. And he sort of went forward and he says, I can feel a man coming through. And I thought, oh, that could be good. It could be my friend that's passed away. So maybe it's him, I don't know. So I was waiting in anticipation, thinking, okay, come on through. And then he would sort of step forward into the light, lean his face forward into these 2 infrared lights. So the idea is that I would then see my friend's face, or someone's face at least, transfigured or superimposed over his face. But I absolutely saw nothing. And so I said, I'm sorry, I can't see anything. So he said, I will try again. So he moved his face out of the light, and he goes, we'll try another time. So he moved forward again, and I looked, and I could hear again people behind me going, oh, look at that, look at that, look at the ears getting bigger. And I was thinking, what? I can't see a damn thing. And I said, I'm sorry. You know, you feel pressure, social pressure to sort of say, oh, thank you very much, that's lovely. But I thought, no, I'm going to stick to my guns. I said, I'm sorry, I can't see a thing. So again, he said, we'll try one more time, my friend. And he moved his head out the lights like this. And then he moved it one more time back in. So this is the 3rd time he's moving his face in the light. And I looked, and I said, sorry, can't see a thing. So he then said to the lady that had organised this, Jeanette or whatever, he says, Jeanette, make sure our friend gets a full refund. Like that.
Probably, yeah.
So she goes, all right. So, but I'm still owed the money. The spirit world owed me 20 quid.
Oh, right. Obviously, they didn't tell Jason himself, the ones that were channeling.
Yeah, that's right. They forgot to wake him up and tell him that. Yeah. But no, don't worry, Jason, if you're watching. I'm not going to hassle you for the cash. But I just was being honest. I saw nothing. But Ben, you had a positive experience.
I did, yes. And Jason, he allowed me. He didn't charge me, actually, because I'd done an interview with Gene Skinner, which he was very appreciative of. Gene Skinner is actually a transfiguration medium.
From the northeast?
Yeah. She passed away a couple of months after our interviews. She's quite old. She's a pretty old lady. But she was this Geordie lady who lived somewhere north of Newcastle in Northumberland. Yeah, and she's got some photographs of some of the transfigurations she did, which include facial changes, essentially an ectoplasmic mask and hand changes and things like that. So.
Apparently transfiguration has happened to me many, many years ago. I was experimenting with channeling, and my girlfriend at the time was a medium, and she was sort of basically watching me at the end of the bed. I was sitting on the bed, and I had one, I think she had a torch, that's right, and she was reading a set of questions that I'd pre-prepared. Can you ask this spirit guide, who I apparently got coming through? And I was sort of channeling his voice, and she said that she saw this sort of mist around my face, so she put her hand over the torch to try and see clearly, because it was sort of like distracting her a little bit, and she said she saw the face of this Victorian gentleman, complete with sideboards, talking over my face, and every time my mouth opened, his mouth opened in synchronization, like I was wearing a mask. I was totally unaware of that, but that's what I was told happened.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I said it could have been Elvis. I was all shook up. But interesting experience. Now, we'll talk, one little last thing we'll talk about, and then we'll wrap this up. And there was another medium from the northeast. I think it was I can't remember exactly where. Somewhere in where is it that they do it?
Truth Seekers Northeast.
Yeah.
Oh, on Wall's End.
Yeah, but what's the actual big city that it's in?
Newcastle.
Newcastle, that's it. Around Newcastle upon Tyne, yeah. Or he might have come from Durham, I'm not sure which. But there's a guy called Hunter Selkirk who was basically a medium in the 1950s and 60s. And he had an uncanny ability of mediumship. He's a very humble man by all accounts. And I never met him. I found only one thing on the newspaper, a cut-in about where he gave some accurate information at a spiritualist church. But he was a very good physical medium. In other words, he could go into trance and produce this phenomenon of ectoplasm would come out of him and form into physical beings or spirits. And there's one time he actually said to some people that were with him, and he said, "Oh, should we try some table tilting?" And they said, "Oh yeah." So they literally got the table and they put it into the middle of the room, and instantly, without any sort of like further movement or action or anything like that, Hunter Selkirk just suddenly slumped into a trance. And the people that were standing there witnessed this ectoplasm come out of his nose and get sort of start to form into two sort of small masses on the table that they'd put in the room, and these masses grew into about a foot high each figures. And they became solid white figures of people that are only a feet high, and they're both dressed in Elizabethan costumes, and one was a man and one was a lady, so both an Elizabethan man and an Elizabethan lady as fully materialised figures, but only about a foot high each. And they turned and bowed to each other, and then they turned and bowed to the men that were witnessing them, like very politely, and they said they could see the lace on their wrists and collars, they could see their buckles and everything in full detail, but completely white. And then they just melted back down, and then the ectoplasm went back into Hunter Selkirk's nose, and he woke up and he goes, "Oh, has anything happened? Did I miss anything?" He's completely unaware it happened.
That's a very typical manifestation medium experience, and it's actually very rare, but it can be done. And there's only a handful of people who have that ability in the world. Helen Duncan was actually considered one of the most powerful ever.
Yeah.
But others, for example, Victor and Wendy Zammit, have explored the manifestation mediums, and they do exist. And this is where literally they can conjure up ghosts out of nowhere. And I mean, the skeptics say it's all fake, and they're using cheesecloth. They're regurgitating cheesecloth, which is. I mean, I've never tried that, and I wouldn't. Don't try it at home, for goodness' sake. You'll probably kill yourself. But they will say that this is how it's done. I don't believe that myself.
No.
And I find it these stories
it's interesting. The skeptics are always the experts of how it's done, but they never actually go to these seances to actually try and investigate for themselves. But they tell you how it's all done.
Yeah, they'll say. Well, again, they use a lot of Clownsdale fallacies. I mean, the whole Harry Price and the regurgitating cheesecloth. That's essentially. He claims to have gathered a specimen of it. I don't believe him. I think it's another Clownsdale fallacy. Yeah.
And of course, all mediumship, they always say they get this information from Facebook or anything like that. And so, are we led to believe then that mediumship only began when Facebook began?
Exactly. Yeah. It goes back to the ancient world, and I mean, in fact, there's reports of soothsayers, millennia, 2,000 years ago, and things like that, and it goes back into the shamans of prehistory. So yeah, it's a perennial experience that humans have had since we've been on the earth. Yeah.
Right, I think we'll wrap this up now, Ben. So we're talking on January the 1st, 2024. So before we wrap up, as a conclusion, what's your things that you've got lined up for this year, and also what's your hopes for this year as far as UFO disclosure and that kind of stuff?
Well, obviously, I hope they'll release more information about the aliens, and I don't know about prediction, because you see, I predicted everything that's happened in 2023, which was essentially what I would call it the year of the UFO almost. It's the most exciting ufological year in history. It's almost like the whole 2017 phenomenon coming home to roost, in a sense. But so I wouldn't like to make a prediction. I can hope what's going to happen. There'll be more of that, and we'll get closer and closer to more and more admissions. Of course, the Schumer amendment has been essentially amended, which again it's been altered to remove some of the most important clauses to do with the presidential oversight and indeed the eminent domain. which is bad. I mean, it's bad on one level because it means the Congress now no longer has the ability that it did with the original amendment to pressure private companies into giving information and giving the technology.
What
Yes.
they know, yeah.
And the Schumer Amendment is amazing. It contains all these words which we never thought we'd see in official government documentation, which tends to be very, very nebulous and full of sort of vagaries. This actually uses words like non-human intelligence, extraterrestrials technology, and things like this, or non-human technology and things and words like that. Well, the good thing about it is that I think the very fact that the two Mikes, as they become known, these are the Congress people who have are behind this this revision, who had their campaigns actually funded by these various companies. Because of what they've done, no one is now talking about there being no non-human intelligence involved. No one is now talking about it all being some great big delusion.
Yeah.
I mean, the skeptic line up till now has been, well, Congress has simply been carried away with a folly. And the whole David Grush thing and the other witnesses, this was just Congress losing their minds and starting to believe crazy stuff. No one's talking like that now, because if this crazy stuff didn't exist, the two Mikes would not have done what they did.
Yeah.
They wouldn't bother going to all the trouble to amend and altering an amendment for something that wasn't real.
Yeah.
Why not just let them get on with it? We've got nothing to hide,
Yeah.
Let them have. You see what I mean? So I'm hoping more of that will come out this year. I'm hoping there's going to be some elections this year, so politics might hopefully. There may be some interesting development in politics. We don't know yet. There's so much unpredictable. So many things in the past I didn't predict have happened. So I'm not going to go too far out on a limb on this. On a personal level, I want to try and read more. I want to try and read more books, because I think I've been maybe neglecting that. So I'd like to, because I've got a lot of books I haven't read yet, and I'd like to read them. I'd like to do reviews of them, possibly on Paranormal TV or Paranormal Voice. And that will be my next. That's my personal New Year's resolution. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap this up. I'd like to say to everyone, thanks for watching, and thanks for Ben for joining us. I think this is going to go on Ben's programme and also the Paranormal Peep Show at some point. So we'd like to wish everyone, both of us, from Ben and I, a very happy New Year, and wish you all the best for 2024. Cheerio.
Cheerio. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Neil has an art gallery in his home.
I should explain that I do artwork. I'm not an art collector, but I do artwork.
You're an artist. You and Monica are both artists.
Yes, that's right. So this is an illustration here I did some years ago. This is a drawing copied from a photograph, and I did that. And that was a gift I gave to Monica.
Yeah. Is that you?
No, it's not me.
Oh, right.
No, that's Monica's son and Monica's daughter.
Oh, right. Yeah, I recognise because I met her the other day.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, lovely. I know, and I recognise
This
this
is the original.
one.
This is a print of the.
Is that the Rolling Stones?
No, it's actually based on stones in Cumbria called Long Meg and her daughter.
Oh, Long Meg. I've heard of Long Meg and her daughter. Sure. This is like a priestess with a chalice and an owl. Yeah, and this is a bit of reflection there.
A knight in armour falling into a trance with this sort of fairy queen lady, and there's little gnomey goblin fairy folk hiding throughout the picture.
Oh, that's lovely.
I actually got, again, I work from photographs. I actually got a guy in a suit of armour to sit in a deck chair in the woods, and I photographed him, would you believe?
My goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, so you worked on a model.
I certainly go to town, don't I?
Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
and up here,
This is
a large one.
What's this one here?
Oh, that's one of that was a close-up of a fairy emerging from the water with a willow tree behind the full moon.
Yeah. And this is a...
This is one, Winter Witch it's called. So again, this is a photograph from a real person. She was holding a silver cup. So you got the silver effect there. And, I painted all the reflections and everything in the cup of the silver. So,
oh, wow, yeah. Well, mate, that's very well. And she's got holly in her hair. And...
Yeah, so it's all done in oil paints, this one. Yeah. You got the ones in there? Do you want to? Oh, this one here. This one is called. Oh, I forget half.
Is that Monica? Is that meant to be?
No,
Monica?
it's not Monica.
So there's a mischievous look on her face, like a little fairy.
Actually, mischievous. That's what it's called. Mischief Magic is the name of the picture.
Yeah.
So it's this little fairy again with holly around her, because I think I use it as like a Yule card, and again a little chalice. It's just little fun paintings, really.
And then there's more. This is the room where I'm staying. You got some in here too.
That's correct.
Put the light on there.
Yeah.
Right.
So, The Witcher now, which is the
Oh, that's the big version of that. Yeah.
the original version.
Right.
Painted that in 1998. A funny story with this. When I painted this, I was showing all the elements of what was in the picture to my daughter, who was about 4 years old at the time. And I said to her, "What's in the picture?" And she goes, "There's the moon, Daddy." And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "There's the stones." And I said, "Yeah, that's right." And she goes, "And there's a lady." And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "And there's an owl." And I said, "Yeah." "And anything else?" And she goes, "Oh yeah, she's having a cup of tea."
Oh. I know someone like I think is it Miles who's got a print of that. I know someone
Has
who's
he?
got
Oh,
somebody I
really?
know's got a print. One of your
right,
prints,
okay,
yeah.
They must have bought it off me.
This
I
is,
don't remember. So this one.
This is the one over.
I've
I've been sleeping in this bed, yeah.
To get a direct angle like that.
Yeah.
I've
been sleeping in this
Monica
bed.
painted, and that's because my birth sign is Sagittarius. She painted me there, as you can see. I've been to the gym.
I thought that was you. I did.
As a Sagittarius.
Yes, that's amazing because I remember looking at that and I didn't know Monica had done it. I thought you'd done it.
Yeah.
But I thought that was just like you, a centaur, Neil the Centaur. Yeah.
Oh, case of the trots there.
Yeah.
And so down here, this painting here is. This is a Lord of Rings inspired type picture.
Oh, look, yeah.
So,
Elf.
This is called Daughter of Kings, which was a line from the first Lord of the Rings film. Gandalf says it in one of his scenes. And I thought, oh, I love that line, Daughter of Kings. So again, I got this girl, painting her as an elf, and she was actually holding a broomstick at the time in the original photograph. But I turned it into a kind of a magical wand stick thing with a swirly galaxy crystal and a raven there. Now you've got this elven writing that I've put round as a
it's on
framework,
frame,
yeah? But I'll show you a little thing. If I take the picture here and I turn it around, you can see I've signed it, Neil Geddes Ward. You see?
Is he clothed into the elf right in the elf
Clever
writing,
way,
yeah.
sort of Leonardo da Vinci style.
Yeah, that's I wouldn't have spotted that. 'Cause what does this elf writing mean?
Well, it's just I just basically as runic script. I copied it. I found it on the internet and just copied it. But for to be crafty, I just took it and put it upside down there for my name.
I wouldn't have spotted that. Yeah.
No, it's just a cryptic way of signing my picture.
That's great.
Now, don't film all the rubbish in it. Just one
Okay.
picture. But if I switch this on, this is the picture that we've been working on, which is a scene from
Yes.
Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
Where they're in the shopping centre. I only saw the film very recently. I've heard about it for years, but because I thought we were doing the painting, Monica and I are doing the painting, I thought maybe we better watch the movie and get some reference from it. So these four characters here in the movie are like hiding out in this shopping centre away from the zombies, and they've actually gone into one of the shops and pulled themselves fur coats and things like that. This poor guy has been bitten by a zombie.
He was, yes.
And he's in a trolley, that's why he's down there. And this railing is what's part of the shopping mall thing. That would be one of the last things we paint. So we've been painting all the fur coat. This guy and this guy, I think they're like military.
They're policemen. They're policemen. Yeah. And I can't remember their names, but they're the two policemen who escaped with these two characters.
Yeah.
These two are they're like crew at the TV studio.
Yeah, he's a helicopter pilot as well, and he teaches her to fly the helicopter, and she escapes with
these two coppers. Yeah.
At the end of the movie.
And they have to escape.
You can see her face is only partly painted there, so she's one of the last people we've painted. We're still painting this character here. Still going to touch up the skin tones and
I'll never forget the scene where he turns into a zombie. It's horrible. They have to shoot him, and it's really horrible.
Yeah.
They just wake up one morning and he's like turned into this zombie.
That's right. Yeah. And so the picture behind. And you'll see that one there. They both look pretty much the same. And what it was a competition. Well, a little fun competition
One's
between
got
myself and Monica. So that's actually Monica in the picture there as a kind of goddessy witch lady.
I always recognised her. Yeah.
And so I painted that one there. And you see that I've got a raven flying across the sky.
Yeah.
Whereas Monica painted her version, and she's got an owl flying across the sky. Because I've done lots of owls in pictures, I said, no, I don't want to do an owl in this one.
But they're very similar, aren't they? They're very similar.
So yeah, we based it upon the same sort of scene, but we interpreted it slightly differently.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What's this one down there? Oh, this is Glastonbury
Oh yeah,
Tour.
that's another one there. So that's a lady in front of Glastonbury Tour, and the Rubik
cauldron.
stones spell my name, Neil Geddes Ward.
Oh, amazing!
Cauldron, yeah.
And this is exactly like the things you could sell this and put it in a gallery there. Because,
Yeah.
You know, or sell a print or something.
I was selling prints of it down.
Because that is exactly
Glastonbury.
what the kind of things they like.
Yeah.
In Glastonbury.
Yeah, it's right up their street.
Is this?
This one is I did this for a book. So the front half of the book was there, and the title of the book would be appearing there, and all the writing.
Oh,
on the
there's
back
the
of the
spine,
book
and yeah, oh
would be
right.
there, you see.
That's a
And so this girl's got a magical wand or something.
yeah. Oh, what's the book?
Do you know, I can't remember the title of the book. I forgot.
That's a
what
book
it's
cover.
called.
That's a book
But it's
cover.
a book cover. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And these are not yours. These
No.
are right. Oh,
So this is a drawing of my dad that Monica drew.
lovely.
Because he passed away in 2021.
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the last drawings or photographs we had of him, and she drew a picture.
Yeah.
And then she also drew this one of my mum from 2016. Although my mum was a bit younger, I think she's about 52 or 53 in that particular drawing, where she passed away at the age of 78. And then I'll bring this picture down so you can get Roxy. Look at Roxy following me.
Oh, the doggy. The doggy just will not leave us alone. It's one of these dogs that it has to be.
And then-
Whatever you're into, they have to be into it too.
This one.
She's lovely, Roxy.
I did a drawing there.
Oh, is
some
that
years
some?
ago.
Is that's your That's your dad.
No, that's Monica's husband,
Oh,
former husband, late husband, with Emily, who you saw the other day. As a little
Oh,
girl.
it's the daughter. Yeah. Oh, lovely. That's lovely. That's a lovely one.
Yeah, so it's all done in pencil.
Well, Niels, is that all of them?
That's all of them.
Lovely.
I've got loads in storage. I'll see if I can show you some that are hidden behind the wardrobe, because we've
Okay.
put a load in frames. I'll see if I can show
Right,
you.
let's see if we can get some more, because these are really amazing. I mean, I've always liked your work, I really have. And Monica's also an artist. I know you're collaborating on a couple of projects, like the Dawn of the Dead one.
Yeah.
Mm.
Give me a second. I'm trying to think. What's here? Here's one.
Right, this could be an exclusive, guys.
There we go. That's called Lost Between the Wonder and the Why.
And there comes Glastonbury Tour.
Glastonbury Tour again, and this is sort of an abbey kind of building.
Nice.
For a time I went through a pre-Raphaelite kind of period of doing pre-Raphaelite inspired artwork. So it's one of those. Again, this is Doyle on canvas.
Again, you get like the sort of mystical feminine figure, which is a recurring theme in your art.
Photograph the model, put the lights on them, and then you add the background in later on. A lot of people, you know, when they're going to pose, they literally think they've got to pose at Glastonbury Tour for me, or pose on the cliff top of a whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not true. They don't have to do that. They just photograph them in a house or something. Let's see what else we have in here. I did give a UFO picture away to Ronnie and Philip.
Right. So I've seen there's one you did show us. In fact, I did actually. I don't think it was in my videos. It's in one of yours. It was one that is at Menna and Matt's place.
Yes.
The Hollywood Paranormal group. And that is the Betty and Barney Hill car with the flying saucer hanging over it.
Yes.
That was quite good. Yeah.
Right, here's another one. This is a drawing. This is a print of the drawing. So it's the same girl who's on the painting down there, but that's she's holding a sword, pencil drawing. But this is a print of the pencil drawing.
Right, nice.
So I think the actual original was slightly smaller than this.
That's
But
lovely.
this girl came from the Czech Republic, so she's got a kind of Slavic look to her face.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That's that one. Here we go. This is a fun, jolly one. This is a print again.
Oh, I've seen this one.
Yeah,
this is good.
this is Lord of the Woods.
Oh, right.
It's my version of the Green Man, and so
nice. So just get there's a bit of reflection off that light.
yeah,
And turn around.
I would try and show him as that he was a jolly big giant, but he was kind to even the tiny snails there.
Oh, and there's a snail on the top of his.
staff.
Oh,
So
that's
he's let a
great.
snail on his staff.
You can see that there. Yeah.
There it is.
Was there a model with this guy?
Yeah, there's a guy. This is a friend of mine called Matt, who we nicknamed Mystic Matt because at the time when you could smoke in pubs, he used to do fag butt readings on people's cigarettes in their ashtrays.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, so it's doing like runes, you know. But he was doing it with fag butts, and he said they were quite accurate.
Have you had cigarette butt readings? That's why I'm over tea leaf readings, but cigarette fag butt.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, one thing's for sure, you can always say they're going to have a short life if they're smoking.
You sure that? Yeah. But these horns, you see, they're not really horns. They're some kind of vegetable. You see, they're like celery or something.
Yeah, sort of like a horn that becomes like a tree.
Yeah.
But I remember I used to show this picture at Witchfest in London, and
people had actually bought prints of this for quite a few years, and there was a guy that I met there. I never knew him. He just said, "Oh, I love that picture." He says, "I got a print of it at home." And he says, "And every time I come down the stairs and I'm feeling a bit pissed off or down in the dumps," he says, "I always look at that picture and it always cheers me up."
Yeah, it
So I said, "Oh, that's great."
It has a cheerful energy to it. It really does. Yeah.
He's got a bit of a twinkle in his eye.
Yeah, so it's sort of like you can imagine him, he's a joker or
Yeah.
a
But
trickster.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's all oil paints, folks. People say, "Oh, I'm not professional enough to use oil paints," but the reason artists use oil paints is because they're the easiest to use. So it's a little tip. Always
Right.
use oil paints.
Yeah, any aspiring artists out there, you know what to do.
Yeah. And that's the same one that's out there already. So I'm now going to see what this one is. Oh yeah, you'll like this one. This again, the large one is super huge, so I haven't got it here. But this is called Gallows Wake.
Oh, right.
So this is a girl on a cliff top.
Yeah,
With
so
the
there's a little bit of sick. There's a bit of, I don't know if you can avoid it really.
Can I
But
put
yeah,
it
it's
that
just
way, maybe?
yeah, there's a bit of reflection. But yeah, that's right. You can see the cliff there, and there's the lady up there,
Yeah.
and yeah, and then look at the rocks
Crashing
out there,
waves.
yeah, and the full moon.
Now there's a lady. This girl here who posed to me. I told her the scene. I said, "You're going to be on a cliff top with the full moon and the sea raging below you in the painting." So she was looking in her diary to find out when the next full moon was. I said, no, don't worry. You're not going to be standing on a cliff top and there's going to be me bobbing in a boat trying to photograph you. We're just going to photograph you in the house with a few lamps on you, and I'll lend the background to you, you know.
Oh, lovely, yeah.
And then this art expert lady saw this picture and she says, "You've got the classical triangle." And I was going, "Oh, really?" I thought, "What the hell's she on about?" Apparently, if you look at the moon and the face of the lady and the crest of the wave, it forms an inverted triangle.
It does. It's actually an isosceles, because it's almost the same distance.
Yeah.
Was that deliberate?
No, it's just an accident.
So subconscious then.
But it was apparently that's what they in lots of religious pictures from many years ago. They'd always have like Joseph and Mary and Jesus, and they'd always form a kind of triangle in the composition.
right.
And so I'd done that without realising.
You just did it completely subconsciously.
Yeah.
Amazing, yeah. That's amazing. A lot of good art, including my writing, is subconscious. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe I was channeling Leonardo or
Perhaps you was, yeah.
Michelangelo or something like that.
Yeah, that's something like. Yeah, you never know. I mean,
Yeah.
artists. It's like that picture of Alex Gray of the artist, and then he's got all these other art. He's got like you recognise some people like Rembrandt and people behind him. It's a great picture that if you've never seen it.
Yeah. Oh, here's one. Here's an interesting one. See what I mean? We have to stick him behind there. So here's a picture. Do you recognise the lady?
It's Monica.
Yeah.
And she's a Star Trek type person.
Yeah, she's a bit of a Barbarella.
She's got a
this one.
phaser, and she's on a planet, and there's her spaceship.
Yep.
And there's a
robot
like a robot, and there's the moon of the planet, and there's that's really good. That's great. That is.
Now
That's
I
great.
painted this type of picture, this very kind of subject, this scene. I was about 15, many years ago at school, and then I decided that I'll repaint it, but this time I'll repaint it in oils, and I'll have a proper model pose for me, which is Monica, and she posed for me. She actually was in this room, and she bought this outfit, and we bought her a little toy gun from the toy to be a space gun, and she was wearing these silver boots and everything like that. So yeah, we had the light coming through the window there to backlight her, and had a few desk lamps to light her face. So use all these props like lights and things to light them up. You work it all out. You don't just make it up as you go along. You have to work it all out. You have to work out your model, where the lighting's coming from, the planet, work out the shadows and stuff like that.
Yeah, because unlike on the moon, with the Apollo pictures, the shadows are going in the right direction.
Yes,
and
that's right.
That includes the spaceship here, and there's this darkness at the background.
So this side light you see from her, from the sun. I added this kind of beam thing.
The star, the planet's sun, which may be different from our sun.
Yeah. So that needs to be framed. But
that's very good. I like that one. Yeah.
So painted that in 20.
Oh, sorry, Roxy. Sorry,
year
this doggy is sort of like hanging around underneath my feet.
The trouble is, I shove them down there and I forget I've got them.
Until someone wants to come and film them.
One day I'm dead. They discover these famous pictures.
Oh,
from my
blimey!
wardrobe.
Hopefully you'll be alive to enjoy your success.
Yeah.
Don't go and do a Van Gogh on us and sort of like go and pop off before you get successful.
So that's the artwork, folks. I've done loads over the years, but this is a small sample of it. So you've got a taste of what I do.
Well, Neil, thanks very much for showing us that.
No problem.
Great.
Thank you.
Alright. Welcome to Weymouth. It's a very warm, spring-like, depressingly warm morning here. It's raining and windy. I mean, the weather this trip could hardly have been worse. Could almost hardly have been worse. And I'm on the beach now in Weymouth. I've not been here since I was a little kid. But it's, in nicer weather, this is a beautiful spot. It really is. It's a lovely spot. And you can see the clouds going overhead. I'm now waiting for my coach home. The National Express coach will be turning up soon to take me home. I've had a wonderful time. I really, really have. It's been brilliant. Despite the lousy weather, I've had great fun. And Monica and Neil have been great hosts. They've been great, really, really good to be with. And I think I've done some interesting things. What's the highlight? I don't know. I mean, I think my conversation with Neil was very good. We had a very, very good. That was a really, really good kind of. Well, a good rapport there between us. We covered some good subjects. One of our best. Obviously, we've done interviews before, so we're used to each other. That was one of our best, I think. Oh, the Lighthouse, I think, was worth seeing. It was interesting stuff. I didn't expect it to be open. But what I liked about it, I think, was the fact that I stood up to my own fear, my own vertigo, and I gritted my teeth. I didn't look down, and I went up the steep, narrow spiral stairs. So that, I think, was a real highlight. And here we have the sea coming in. It's going to touch my shoes. It is. Yes, it's touch my shoes. But I don't want to get my nice shoes wet. But I can actually just touch the sea there. Yeah. So time to head home, I think. From sunny, gorgeous, sweltering Weymouth. This is Ben Emlyn-Jones for Paranormal TV. News at 10. The bloody sun has to come out. Well, the rain stopped, the sun's out, but the wind is still well and truly in force. It's really bad. I mean, it's like you'll feel it in a minute when we get into the park. You may not be able to hear me on the mic, which is why I'm talking to you in this sort of more sheltered area here on Cheney Lane. It's really, really heavy, high wind. It almost reminds me of the summit of Snaefells, actually, if you remember my Mongoose and Man video. Here we go. I normally do like a little debrief now. We'll have to wait till I get home, I think. Ooh, here we go, see? Look at that. Yeah, I mean, there was some news headlines just after Christmas saying there's going to be 5 storms in the new year. No! We'll have to make a video about that, I think. Let's do it soon. Hello everyone, right, I'm home now and I dried off a little bit and got the wind out of my ears. Apparently there's another storm warning for tomorrow. Stand by, there'll be a video about this very soon actually. I'm planning a live stream about this. It's really crazy. But anyway, this is the end of this particular video, and what's going to happen, what everyone's going to ask me, I'm sure you'll ask me this on the live stream. What do you think is going to happen in this coming year? Right, well, how accurate were my predictions in January last year? I made a disclosure video, and I will do one as well, a UFO disclosure video called "So Is That It?" And the answer, of course, was no. We got David Grush, we got the balloon, and then we got the objects, and we get all the other things that have happened. But so I don't know if it's worth making predictions, but at the same time we can be hopeful but sensible. Now, these auto-sodomites, these mutual masturbators, these basically the people I call backslappers, have come up with a new catchphrase. You may have heard it a few times in the sort of backslapper circles. I think it was alien scientists who started off with it. I've heard Andrew Johnson say it. I expect Richard D. Hall will adopt it at some point. PSYOP until proven otherwise. So that's just look out for it. PSYOP until proven otherwise. Look how superior I am because I can say PSYOP until proven otherwise. The ordinary naive people don't understand it, but I do. Oh, I'm not going to go on a backslapper rant now. But I think, is something a PSYOP until proven otherwise? No, no. if we go down the backslapper route, then it's basically 200 years in the future. In the post-Illuminati world, we're going to be peeking around corners going, wow, aren't they clever? But at the same time, though, psyops exist. Psyops do happen. You'd have to really be naive and stupid to suggest that they don't. So, I'm not going to predict what's going to happen this year. I know I hope for, and you can guess what I hope for. But what I hope for, it's not so much I'm going to look at what the conclusion, but the method. So rather than saying I think this is going to happen, I think that's going to happen, I'm going to say I'm going to move into this unknown territory with the best defences and the best offences that I have in terms of my mental state and my attitude, in terms of my morale, in terms of my logic, in terms of my logical methodology. So I think that's all we can do. That's all we can do. Anyway, one thing I do know, there's one thing I am certain of, that is that this has been the best New Year I've had since I quit portraying, because it's the first New Year where I've been able to be with people I care about and have some company and have some fun. I mean, I've done like Zoom calls on New Year, but you know what I mean. So, thank you all of you for watching Paranormal TV. Have a wonderful New Year, everyone. Thank you all of you for watching Paranormal TV. Hospital Porters, pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order.